Well, it's 2 o'clock and it is on a Sunday, so it's time for the Sunday service. Very welcome to it, every one of you, one and all. Sorry, taking the phone out of my pocket right there. This is, my God, we've already jumped to 17 people watching straight off the mark. So it's good to have you all here. It's brilliant to be back on this Sunday. It's a kind of a great day here in Portlaoise. There's a big match on in Portlaoise today. Very important. The whole town is taking over with the match stuff. Also on today is, I think there's Formula 1. I also think there's Goodwood Festival of Speed. And there is the Terranure Car Show, which should be coming to an end at this stage. I think it's been on a while. So there's quite a bit of stuff going on around Ireland today, motoring-wise, and quite a bit of stuff happening. So I'm not expecting a giant turnout, but it might be good. This white t-shirt I'm wearing says, "Bring back knobs," in case you haven't seen it, which is a t-shirt that's available on Teespring. It actually says "See on the far side" on the back of it. And you can have a hoodie of it as well if you want, which says "See ya on the far side," and then on the back of the hoodie it says "Far Side." So that's, everybody knows who the Far Side is now. But that's available in Teespring, which is linked down below in the comments, or you can. There's actually a full link that'll take you to the Teespring shop for yourself, and you can have a look at it if you want to. You don't have to buy it, but it's there. It's merch, man, which everybody keeps telling me I'm supposed to have. So now I have it, merch. But obviously the best way to support the channel is for the links down below through PayPal, Patreon, or Super Chat right here today on the Sunday service. So how is everybody? You're all looking well, I have to say. Look at the stadiums, but you're all looking well. Hopefully some of you are in your pyjamas still. Trevor Hartford's here. Brian O'Donnell is here. Eric Rochford is here. Tim Burke has joined us. John Finnerty has joined us. Rusty Bunt. Tim Burke says t-shirt is on his list. Good man. That's the way to have it. Sure, I've seen somebody else there join that's gone off the list now. Anyway, there's lots of people joining at the moment. It's great. Click the like button on your way in when you're getting comfy. I have my cup of tea right here. No, it's not. That's coffee. My mouth was expecting t-shirt. My mouth was expecting tea and got coffee. My laptop has just turned into a Hoover because it's under massive pressure, because I have put out a video a day for nearly 20 days, I think, and just kind of chilled off a little bit there. So in other news, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, Friday, I was filming, no, Thursday, I was filming with Sinead McCann. We filmed a twin test, Honda CR-V versus a Toyota RAV4. And I might be able to show you a clip of that, actually. Hold on 1 second. I might have the technology to show you a clip of that thing. Here, I'll be back to you in a second. One, go. No cheating. Mine beep.
Come on, come on.
And that's your lot. That's what you're getting as a clip right now. So that's coming. That's going to be a big test, a big laugh. It's a good test. It's a long video, but that's good. That's what you want. It's exactly it. So it's myself and Sinead and my two kids literally spent the whole day out on the car planes filming with Sinead and myself. So it was good crack. We had great crack that day. Hopefully you'll enjoy that video. That will be out tomorrow, right? Be out tomorrow morning, 10:15. Set your alarm clocks. It's going to break the internet. Also, I am going over to Nice to have a go on a Ford Focus ST, I think. Somebody messed up the booking, so I can only bring a little tiny bag. I can't even bring a big bag, so I can't bring all my cameras, unfortunately. But I'll make the best of it, as best I can. Anyway, Trevor says hi. Brian O'Donnell says hi, Bob. I haven't in a habit. Too busy of late. I saw your reviews. Keep up the good work. Come on, Brian. I know there's been a load of videos actually come out in one shot, so there's a bit of binging to do. The channel has doubled 450,000 views in the last 20 days, 27 days or something. So it's been really busy on the channel, massively busy, and that's very good, I suppose. Now it's the biggest channel in Ireland of its kind, so that's pretty handy. Eric Rochford is here. Tim Burke says insurance a big issue. It's also a claim culture of the quantum needs for good going over 10 years. And no claims bonus, paying 400 quid, fully comprehensive, not to have you bad. Used to live in the UK, never paid less than £800, fully comprehensive. Tim, you should see the problem we have right now. I tweeted out a link to a Sinn Féin. Now I know people don't necessarily like Sinn Féin, but you know what? He asked the questions of the insurance company, and they couldn't answer. They were saying there was 20% of their claims per year is a fraudulent claim, and it was absolute horse manure. It's not 20%, nowhere near. It's like 0.01%. It's stupid. They just load us. It's a It's a culture they have. They all get together, they all have their meetings, and they all decide how much they're going to charge us on insurance, and then that's the way it works. So, John Finnerty says afternoon. Rusty Blunt says hi Bob. Tim Burke says t-shirts on his list. Eric Rocher says love the t-shirts. Brian O'Donnell says class E300 hybrid and changing to hybrid towards the end of 2019. What's your thought on the Merc E300 hybrid? How's their servicing and parts? Just check to make sure that they're still going to be doing that into the future. I know Mercedes were talking about getting rid of the hybrid stuff at one point, and maybe they were bringing in, they were dabbling a lot in this, but no difference than charging or changing, servicing a diesel car. It's a hybrid. It's still an ordinary engine up front, coupled to a hybrid system. The charging system and all that stuff, that doesn't need to be serviced unless you get a light on the dashboard. If you get lights, you get something to look at. If there's all of a sudden there's an error on the dashboard, it's probably coming from the hybrid section, but they very rarely go wrong, in fairness to them. Andrew Daly says, hey Bob, come on Andrew, never seen that name before, I don't think. William Hope, how's it going? Brian Morrissey says, hi Bob, hope you're well. A friend of mine is looking for something that he can use to get his dad, who's now in a wheelchair, to and from. He's looking at a Fiat Doblo with a conversion. Any advice? They are 100% reliable. You will get, the Fiat engines are in all kinds of yokes. Now you will get bits of plastic, or maybe some of the electronics will give a little trouble, but there's not much in a Doblo to go wrong, and they do that special cutout on the back of it that you can just run a ramp out and drive into the car, literally with your electric wheelchair or wheelchair, just wheel your way into the car. And they're very, very good. A lot of taxi conversions do that. There's a lot of various companies that get involved in making these sort of things, but Fiat make a decent one, Peugeot make a decent one, in the Blipper I think it's called. Rifter it's called now, but the Blipper was the commercial version of it, but they made the Rifter is going to be turned into a conversion one for wheelchairs as well. So that's Peugeot, and Citroen will do their version because the car is, or the van is the same throughout. So one of those three, Brian, for sure. But the Fiat Doblo is an ace car. Diesel engine that will go forever, petrol engine will go further. Fiat engines are very reliable, but their electrics and their plastics aren't really up to scratch. William Hope has donated money already. You are so kind, William, into the super chat system. £4.99 is very good, better than the fiver even. £4.99. Sim One says, what's the crack? Same crack as it was last Sunday. It'll be the same crack next Sunday as well, so subscribe. Brian O'Donnell, couldn't get your shirt in my size. I'm a big lad. I bought a few items on the Amazon link. You're very good. Thank you very much for the Amazon link. That's always good to have you there. I know the shirt size is a bit weird, and I have to say I ordered the t-shirt in a medium, fits perfect. I ordered the hoodie in a medium and it's too small, right? So and this one's a kind of a sampley one, so it's not the real one, but this was a little bit too small, a little bit too tight for me. So go large if you're my size in the hoodies, and keep it medium or large in t-shirts. But they're very good, nice material as well. Now look, I wouldn't offer them for sale if I didn't think they were good. So if that t-shirt thing disappears at the bottom, that's because I didn't like the look of it. But anyway, if you want to get the t-shirts, they're on a Teespring link down below. There's other stuff there too. I'll bring out some phone cases, and I have to design. The problem is you have to sit down and design the thing. So if you're a graphic designer, get in touch with me, because I have designed these. I've just used some text and things. But if you're a graphic designer, you want to make the t-shirts, and you can have a cut of whatever Teespring gets you. How's that? Toys and Stuff is here. Thanks very much, Toys and Stuff. Very fun to film. That's my daughter's channel, by the way, Toys and Stuff. Sophie and Hannah's. That's their own YouTube channel. They review toys and things, and they were there. They were helping filming, and they're going to be helping filming from now on because it's really good. Rusty Bun says, all these things a bit off since you showed the video clip. I don't know about that. Couldn't tell you how that works. This is the live video, so I don't know how that works. Eric Rochester, like the second-hand car review, probably not the easiest to organise. It would be nice to get a regular alongside the regular new cars. I'll try and get them in. There's just so much stuff going on. It's hard to get the used car stuff in, and I want to get things that are kind of interesting as well. There's no point in doing a used car review on like a Ford Focus or something unless it's for sale, so it's cars for sale. That's the best way to do that one. Cross 13 is here. What's Peter Cupid? Never heard of you. Good time at the Tivoli, Bob. What's the Tivoli, Peter? Was I there? Craig Russell. Hey, Bob. Any recommendations on a good diesel for €2,000 or less? The only good diesel is a diesel with a good service history And if you can go back to when you go back a few years, you're going to buy one that has no AdBlue and no stop start. They're the things that actually make your diesels unreliable, because they had to put in DPFs to catch the AdBlue and all sorts of stuff. So the only good one is one with a good service history. Do some examination of it. Spend a bit of money on getting a history check done on it. Make sure the thing hasn't written off. It's not driving sideways, not crabbing. If you can get a decent car for $2,000 on the market and it's diesel, you'll be doing very well. The market right now is just snapping that sort of stuff up. Anything that's in that market will be sold off for parts so quickly. So it's very hard to say. The bigger the diesel, the more reliable it's going to be. I know that sounds like a misnomer, but like a 2 litre, 2.5 litre diesel, 3 litre diesels they tend to last a lot longer, which is why you still see Isuzu Troopers from '96 hacking up and down the road, climbing up mountains into fields and all that, because the old diesel engines just keep on going. Darren Kavanagh says, well, horse. That's a very Irish thing for anyone who's not from around here. Stephen Scarf says, good afternoon. Good man, Stephen. Good to have you. John Carn Duff says, blipper. I don't know what it is. A blipper in a Pews or something or other. Sim1 says, Bob, what do you think of the Lightyear 1 solar car prototype? Never heard of it. Solar cars will not work. They will not work within the next 20 years. 100%. No way that solar can generate enough electricity to continuously charge a car along the road. And when you're not using the car, it's almost always nighttime. So you're not going to get anything from the solar panels. Solar panels are on the roof of houses right now and are failing to charge batteries. They're failing to heat water because there's just not enough energy being generated by the sun. And the sun in Ireland doesn't come out all that often. And I mean, direct sunlight is the best way of harnessing it, of solar power. So when you have a canopy of cloud, you still get some solar power coming through it, but it's reduced massively. The daylight goes back down. So you're never going to get enough surface area on the top of a car to capture enough electricity to charge batteries up to keep the car driving. So unfortunately, it might be a brilliant idea of a prototype. It's dead in the water before it ever begins. The two things we're looking at right now when it comes to electric power or future power that are really being invested in is electricity itself, battery power, which I have the Kia e-Soul this weekend. It's out there currently charging. It's going to take 28 hours to charge the bloody thing. But anyway, big battery, long charge. And hydrogen is the other one. That's getting a good bit of investment, bit of traction at the moment. Toyota, Audi, Nissan, they're all kind of looking at this hydrogen thing as to whether it can be done. But again, hydrogen's still far off. Electricity's here, but long range is still far off. Anyway, Pennywise says, ordered a Camry hybrid. Good man. Base. You ordered a base model. Why'd you order a base model? Are you that cheap? You should go upgrade. Get up to the top model or the middle model. Never ordered a base model. You're at nothing. Anyway, not sure if it has standard tinted windows or regular, hence on ACLDA with steer intelligence clear. This is an American spec, I take it. Clearance sonars or regular CFI on stereo. I have no idea. There's a lot of words there, Pennywise, on that screen in front of me right now, and most of them I haven't a clue what they mean. So just so you know, right? But nobody should order the base of anything. Always order middle spec. The base will never pay you back. Our Greek friend has arrived. Hello, everybody from Greece. It's General National Elections Day, so it's Sunday. Is it not Sunday in Greece? National Elections Day. So everyone, every time there is an election, go to vote whatever you want to. Don't let others choose for your future. True. Derek Meads. Hi, Bob. Will you be reviewing a new Volvo S60 anytime soon? I haven't seen it come up in a fleet. I just haven't seen it. Like if it's here, Volvo are keeping terribly quiet about it. Volvo aren't brilliant with the test drive things. You usually have to ring up and ask Volvo to do stuff. They're not deadly at it. It involves me going after them, and as I'm booked out to like next October, November maybe, it's pretty hard to squeeze them all in. That's why I'm doing like 2-3 cars a week. Like, it's crazy how many cars are getting through. And I'm not in Dublin like you Dublin journalists out there who can just, stay in bed and someone comes to collect a car and brings it back. No, I have to bring the car back like human beings do. Anyway, I will try my best to try and squeeze one in there if I can. If there's one around, Derek, I will try my best to drive it. Mick Mulcahy's here. Come on, Mick, good to have you. A lot of people watching now, boys. This is great. Click the like button, it'd be deadly if you could. Also, check out the links down below to support this channel. It is totally free. It is not sponsored by car companies. This Sunday service is not sponsored by anybody either. So it's completely reliant on you. That gives me the voice to be able to say whatever it is I like to say, which is causing a bit of consternation in certain car companies. Anyway, sorry, coffee there. Cross says, first 5 Alexander Dennis Enviro 400 EV electric versions of the same double-decker bus Dublin News went into service in London today. Dublin Bus is still talking LNG and hybrid as others are dropping them. You have to trust that lads in Dublin Bus are making... They're not buying it. Lads in Dublin Bus don't buy it. It's the civil servants who are buying things behind the scenes. So there must be some sort of a discount or other. Irish companies tend to get things for free. I know I was involved at one point with cars going to the Gardaí from car companies, also motorbikes, also guns, ex-guns that we had here in Ireland being sold off overseas in exchange for butter. Almost all these transactions happen for zero money. So when companies like Dublin Bus decide they're going to do 200 new buses, they order diesel ones because diesel is what they know and they can get over it. They're all old men running it. Nobody's any future in it. Nobody's any foresight ahead. The majority of the civil servants who make decisions on your behalf every day are old people, rich people, incredibly rich people. And I'm not talking about just small rich, very rich people on 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 grand a year. And they sit in an office every day and they make decisions about the future of the country. And they're unfireable and they're unquestionable. You can elect all the politicians you want, but these people actually make the decisions. So when it comes to Dublin Bus and what buses they're driving, you know, we make the decision. If we don't use the service, we don't use it. That's like, I'm still fail to understand how anyone supports Ryanair. That's a private company that treat you, the customers, like you're some sort of scumbag. Like, you know, you're worthless to them. You mean nothing. You're just a number on this plane. I don't know why you don't just spend a bit more money and go with someone else. You watch how fast Ryanair will treat you nice then. See this new thing they're doing now. Unless your priority, you can't bring a second bag on board. That's just... Anyway. Don't get me started. I know how I treat these people. I know how I treat Ryanair. I'm flying with Ryanair tomorrow. I think they're absolute monsters in the game. And the same applies for Dublin Bus, same applies for Cork Bus, same applies for Galway Bus. They're all just monsters. They don't know what to do, and they have the foresight to think ahead for the next 3 years. That's as far as it goes. Not the next 30 years, 3 years, 4 years. Look, they're thinking ahead by 6 months. Operator Hoot says, hey Bob, I really liked your EV review series. Thanks. Still going. That's still going. Still building on that. The Kia E sold outside. The Kia E Niro is on the way later on the year. And the... what else is coming? I forget now. Something else. They're all coming. There's more to that electric series. That's the most popular playlist in Ireland at the moment, believe it or not. Weirdly. Graham IRL. You're in real life, Graham. Well done. What's your opinion on the increase in people purchasing lifestyle pickups and having to pay the tax on the old engine size system, even though the companies are bringing out engines with low CO2? You've lost me now. What's this life-size pickups? Is this an Irish thing? Are you talking about SUVs? SUVs are based on the same tax system as everything else. It's all CO2 based in Ireland. If you're buying an old lifestyle pickup and having to pay it at the old rate, that's something you have to bring up with the government, because at the moment I drive a 13-year-old Seat. Well, I don't drive. My wife drives a 13-year-old Seat Leon sitting outside. And we pay the old tax system. In a new tax system, I'd pay about 180 quid a year for that tax. Right now, I'm paying nearly 500. So I hate it. I think it's wrong, completely wrong. Brian says, thanks. Peter Cooper says, Tivoli Cavero. I mean, Bob, no idea. Whenever SsangYong pull their finger out and start making cars happen, that's when. So there's so many cars and so many videos planned in the future. It's impossible to keep up with what's being launched, what isn't being launched, what's coming, what's going. So car companies need to kind of stand up and go, hey, I'm going to make sure Bob Flavin gets a car. I'm going to make sure that guy gets a car. That guy gets whatever it is. But they need to be proactive about it. Otherwise, we just don't know. So much happening in this system right now. Sorry, right. Okay, so back to Pennywise's question. Ordered the Camry in Bulgaria, right? But even Toyota Europe can't answer those questions. Toyota Europe can't answer your questions about a car. Then there's something wrong with Toyota Europe. Like, that's just ridiculous. Of course Toyota Europe can answer your questions if you ask the right person. I'm asking you, since you made an epic good review on the Camry, though it wasn't the best model. It certainly wasn't the best model. The specs and model change across Europe. It's very country dependent. A lot of the stuff that I get over here won't be available in Bulgaria. Some of the stuff you get in Bulgaria won't be available here. You would have to ask your country-specific organisation to find out whether there has to be a Toyota Bulgaria or a Toyota Europe that represents Bulgaria. Ask them directly. Cross says, agreed, solar cars are a stupid idea. Disagree on solar PV and houses. Powers most of my mileage and most of my household use. You can very easily meet 100% of annual electricity consumption in a house. Depends on your kind of house. But yes, I do agree. Solar panels on a roof, well positioned, on a well lit side of the house, will do okay for most of the part. Now, I have a funny... the sun rises over there and sets over there. So it rises on the front of the house and sets on the back of the house. So I need solar panels on both sides of the roof rather than one side or the other. But for solar cars, it's just not going to work. Not until massive amounts of money gets fired at it, and then they'll figure out something. But it just requires tons of money being thrown at these things to get them working. Sim1 says, what do you think of the Lexus LC Coupe? It's one of the best looking cars I've seen in a long time. It is one of the best looking cars on the market today, without a doubt. But whether you can be practically using it every day, I'm not too sure. You know, whether you practically want to be driving that thing around all the time, I don't know. Efficiently, it works fine. Rooting through them, so many questions already. Solar energy only works for water heating, home use, and solar panels for electricity. Well, if you have... So there's two kind of solar things. When you look at the house and you see ones that are in tubes. So the solar that's in tubes is a pump in the house that's pumping water into those tubes. As the water passes back and forward through them, the sun heats the water and it goes back down into the tank and you get hot water from it. That's one. That's not going to get you any electricity, just get you hot water, and it's very independable. So on a frosty morning, most of the time that won't work, right? It'll make the water colder, not warmer, right? But during the summer, when you least need hot water, you can have hot water that way. Solar panels are ones that takes the UV light, so takes the energy from the sun and converts it to electricity, which can be used to heat water, run kettles, run stuff around the house. You can do the power wall system, which is a Tesla, not invention, but Tesla make a brand of it. So it's a wall of batteries outside. You can do this. The old-fashioned way was to get a whole heap of truck batteries and put them in a shed out the back and connect it up to your house. And you can charge those batteries. Those batteries can run the house. So the solar is charging the batteries run in the house. This has been around for decades. This isn't new technology. It's quite old, actually, in fairness to it. Where were we? Solar PV. Laser says, solar PV works great. I have it in my house and I run my house and charger the car to 100%. You got to get your facts right. I'll get my facts right. Slap in the back of the hand. God, I shouldn't have mentioned solar bloody panels on a house. Yeah, they work deadly, but they don't work on a car. The only work of the car is electric and plugged into a house is run by solar. But under certain circumstances, and don't just run out and buy the solar panel from B&Q or something, right? Go get a reputable company to do it properly. Cliff says, hi Bob, what are your thoughts on a new Ford Puma? Do Ford already have crossover small? The new Ford Puma is crap looking. It just looks crap. Who came up with the idea for that? Do you remember what the Ford Puma was? That was a rally car. That was an amazing looking machine. Steve McQueen was using the ad for the Ford Puma. It came in a 1.8. If you can find one still in one piece, the 1.8 is 100% collector's item of the future and will be worth thousands in a few years' time. The one that they're talking about bringing out now is some sort of crossover SUV, Ford Fiesta on stilts yoke. Don't buy it. Get away from it. There's better cars. I haven't even driven it, and yet I'm travelling with Ford tomorrow over to Nice, and I probably won't drive it there either. But it still looks absolutely rubbish. Buy a Fiesta. There's much more value in that, to be honest with you. Or buy what's the next one up from Fiesta? Mondeo's gone, or going. It's on the way out, I think. I think Ford are in deep trouble, but we'll see how that turns out. Jerry Wicklow. That's why we like you, Bob. You live in a real world, unlike many paid reviewers. See, I don't get... You guys pay me. YouTube pays me. I don't get paid per review. No one puts their hand in the rocket to pay for a review apart from you guys. So you guys, you fund this channel so I can sit here and go, I think the Ford Puma's crap looking. I don't have to be nice. That's my job. I think the job of... See, there's a couple of things in journalism. A lot of people ask me how you get started. I started by reviewing second-hand cars. But in journalism, you've got two things. You've got reporters they take a press release and they report it in the voice of the publication. So you take a press release and you write it for the Indo or the Irish Times or whatever. They're reporters. They don't have an opinion in it. They're just reporting a fact. Journalists are reporters who have opinions. So a journalist gets all of the details together and then goes, yeah, this is the facts. And then you go, that doesn't work because of this, because there's an opinion. And then you have opinion formers like Matt Cooper and all these kind of guys who write little byline articles and go, Matt says the tax system is crap. Those guys, they're a different story. They're not journalists really like that. Some are, some aren't. A lot of them are like fluff. They're like names. They're public personas out there and they talk about stuff. I count myself as a journalist with an opinion former. So I look at cars and I look at things that happen within the industry and I form an opinion on it, and then I tell you as best as I can. I am not funded by the car industry, and car industry does not pay to be here. The reviews, the cars come, yep, sure, but there is no money changes hands whatsoever. So you can't pay to have your car on this channel from a car company. So yes, it's good that way. But if you just check out who you're listening to when they're talking about their cars, whether they're talking like that. If you meet them in real life and you ask them a question and give you an honest answer, then read the review of that car. That often tells you 99% of the time whether they're full of crap or actually can give you an opinion. RTD Vlogs Games. You need a new name for your channel. But anyway, do you think there are too many SUV crossovers on the market at every moment? I tune into your live stream every week. I know I've seen your name there loads of times. You still haven't changed your name. But no, there isn't. I'll tell you why. You people keep buying them. Car companies come up with this idea that this is what's going to happen over the next 5 years. Then they make that happen over the next 5 years by supplying it. People buy the stuff. The more people buy them, the more they supply them. That's how it works. So if you keep buying the SUVs, or if the general public keep buying the SUVs, that is what's going to be published out there the whole time. They will continue to bring out new SUVs, crossovers, soft-roaders, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. Like the RAV4 is a two-wheel drive car. It's just a car, but it's a really big car. And so does the Skoda Karoq and the Skoda Kodiaq and the Audi, Audi e-tron and the Q8. And they're all soft-roader, off-roader cars, not quite either. So I don't know if there's too many, but there's certainly a lot of them, which is good because it means you've got choice. If that's what you're in the market for, you've got choice. But it means that the saloon car or the hatchback car is often overlooked and the price of it is going downwards, not upwards. Anyway, car sales will fall after October. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Next year, if the government don't get this budget right, or if they torpedo something with the climate action plan, which is nearly dead and gone already, but if they do something with the climate action plan, you could end up selling 75,000 cars next year, which would be worse than 2008, which would be job closures again. Anyway, electric buses require a lot more infrastructure and planning because of the smaller range compared with diesel. Not if you put up cables over the street, which have been done for years and years and decades and decades. San Francisco is full of electric trams and buses. Our own Austria. We've had the DART system here in Ireland, totally electric since the 80s. So you put the infrastructure up, the cables up along the street, and the Lewis currently is the same system. You put those along the street and you can run electric buses to your heart's content. Now, electric buses that are not plugged into and are not being touching wires or whatever, that may require a little bit more thought, but it's still totally possible with the range we've got right now. And the size of a bus means the amount of batteries that can be put in means the bus can go into service for the whole day. Mian Shamsul Islam says, should I buy a 2019 HRV or Hyundai Kona? Get the HRV. Don't buy the Hyundai Kona. It's too small. Or you could buy my current favourite electric car, if you want to buy an electric car, is the Kia e-Soul. Sitting outside the door right now. Brilliant car. 400 kilometres, 450 kilometres with ease. Charges up on a front charger. Really straightforward. Goes DC, AC, doesn't matter. CCS plug-in, works fine. Best infotainment system on the market. Really comfy seats. I can't tell you any better about it, but Kona's tiny. If you're a single person and you want to drive around the countryside, that's fine. Kona's going okay. If you have kids, they probably won't fit in that back seat. Look at the video on the Kona on my channel. You don't fit. Cross is answering questions there. John McGarvey, hi Bob, when are you doing a full review of the new Audi Q3? Q3? It's not even out yet. Very happy with it so far. Great interior improvement and better to drive. Keep up the good work. Motto. John, Q3. Was there a Q3 out? I didn't know. Unless a refresh with Q3, I didn't see it yet. But sure, there you go. You bought it. What do you want a review of it for? I'll see what I can do. Indention. Hi Bob, I have a B-Class and I'm thinking of changing to another. I don't blame you. Saw your review of the Skoda Karoq. Oh my god, I jumped forward there. Sorry, I've lost you. I'm just going to zoom back up here. Saw your review of the Skoda Karoq. Just myself and a wife. What's your opinion on both? By the way, I love the B-Class. B-Class is a good car. It doesn't really suit you if it's just you and the wife, because it is more of a mammy daddy mobile, you know, parent mobile, because it works that way. Skoda Karoq's a lovely thing, especially if you buy it in a DSG. Petrol, diesel, I don't know. There's electricity. I'm hesitant to kind of push people at Skoda the whole time. Skoda was doing great work until this electric march came on, and now Skoda seems to be behind the ball completely when it comes to electric cars. A lot of promise, ID3 and the Skoda this and the Skoda that and all these promises we've got going on, but we haven't seen them. I haven't driven it, haven't seen inside it, I haven't gone anywhere to see the car, nothing. It's been like dead. Same for ID3. There's ads for electric cars on televisions that aren't even on sale yet. I mean, people are putting deposits down on cars that don't exist yet. Are you insane? But anyway, Skoda Karoq would be a good used buy if you were to buy the very first ones that came out. Must be coming up for used at this stage. PCP sales in and stuff. I don't know how I'm changing now. The B-Class, if it works for you, then keep using it. But if you want to move Skoda Karoq, you could make a worse decision now to move to that. Pennywise says, what do you believe the near to mid future of the car industry is? Petrol or hybrid or plug-in or full electric, and what about diesel altogether? Okay, so for the next look at the near future is 5 years, right? 5 years will be status quo, and I mean exactly like it is now. Currently electric cars make up about 7% give or take of the Irish market. That's up from 4%, but you can actually get rid of that excess by just saying that there's more electric cars to buy. When it was at 4% or 2% of the market, there was only maybe 2 or 3 brands of cars. You could buy a Leaf, you could buy a Zoe, you could buy, there's a couple of cars, or an i3 or something. Which brings me on to a different topic. Why did BMW not get going on the i range properly? They seem so far behind now, and yet they had the i8 and the i3 out so early. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, for the next 5 years, we're not going to see any changes. Petrol and diesel will continue on its march. People will realise that electric cars are not all they're cracked up to be. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to fix your kids. It's not medically going to do anything to you. And it's not going to help you live a longer life. And it's definitely not going to lower our overall CO2 emissions as a country. You're not saving the planet buying an electric car. That realization will happen to people, and they will settle back down into buying their petrol or diesel or hybrid. Over the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see an increase in hybrids as people dip their toe in the market of what's going to happen with electric. They feel they should go towards petrol, maybe they should have a little bit of electric, so they'll go a hybrid. PHEV maybe will make a rise. You'll see a steady increase in the amount of electric car sales, but it'll be steady. It's not going to jump to 50% of the market because there isn't enough batteries. There's not enough electricity. We're still firing a peat-fired Midlands power station is run on turf, bog turf peat. That's about as environmentally damaging as you can get. They're tearing up 1,000-year-old bogs to fuel electricity to power your 2019 car. So you're not saving the environment by changing electricity just yet. All this is in flux and in changing. When we get about 10 years out, you're going to see a radical change. By then we will know more about hydrogen. We'll know more about hydrogen fuel cells. Maybe we'll have a good steady supply of battery technology, and we'll be able to start genuinely replacing everything that's on the market. There's 2 million cars in Ireland right now. We're not going to see those 2 million refreshed for at least 10 to 15 years. And that's not even taking into account if we have another recession, which is very much on the cards, or if Europe goes into recession, which is also very much on the cards, particularly if Russia and America start kicking off again. You've got all kinds of pros and cons. Very hard to meter out for the next 10 years. It is doable, but you have to sit down and look into facts and figures. Within the next 10 years, you're going to see the evaporation of diesel dealers. I mean, traditional dealers in the street. They'll just disappear. They just will. There's no profit left in them. They're vanishing. As it is, sales staff are falling all the time. Service staff are increasing. That will continue. And then beyond 10 years, who knows? We're going to be running on some sort of fuel that will not be diesel, and it probably won't be petrol. But there's plenty of life left in those fuels just yet. Plenty. There's so many things on Earth right now that cannot be just dropped and turned into an electric version. Just can't. Not enough electricity out there, not enough batteries. That was an answer to Pennywise. Sorry, that was nearly like a rant. There was like a crystal ball. This little thing here in front, bring back knobs. See this thing here? It's crystal ball. Anyway, anyone else not liking how Skoda put those active cruise control boxes right in the middle of the grille ruins the look for me. Yeah, it looks funny, doesn't it? When you look at the front of a car and you see those little flat panels where you have to kind of, looks like someone put a plastic cover. You want to pick it off, is what I always think of. Some of the other car companies were pretty clever, kind of put them lower down the grille, further down where you can't really see them. They're still there, but you can't see them. Brendan C5, talking of older diesel, Citroen C5 2003 2-litre HDI, 300,000 miles, still going with no problems, and a 2011 C5 Estate, 175,000 miles, no problems. In my opinion, Citroens are underrated. Skoda has the same rep. Definitely, Citroen got a bad reliability. So did Fiat, got lumbered with the same thing. Generally because the cars were on boats coming over here, and the boats leaked, and the cars were standing on docks in Ireland and in England. They're standing on the docks in the open with the salt water touching off them, and they started to crumble under the pressure. So and then Citroen back in the 80s were absolutely rubbish at electrics. Oh my god, I've rewired things in the 90s, pulling apart those Citroens, taking taillights off, and the wiring is just crumbling, like falling apart, but you break the wires in your fingers. So they did a bad job back then, but they've recovered since then. There's no really bad, unreliable brand anymore. There's just certain cars that don't work out for the best part. But it's good to see 300,000 miles of Citroen C5. That suspension stayed okay, did it? Because I know the old air suspension sometimes sits down in them yokes and then just won't go back up. Cross says east-west roof is actually a bit better because while it limits slightly your overall production of electricity, it's even more throughout the day, limiting on your dependence on the battery. Yeah, that's true, because I get sun from the very first thing in the morning to the very last thing at night on one side of the house or the other. Instead of that kind of comes around the back and you get side-on sun, it actually comes up over there and then comes right around the back of the house and goes back down the other side. So because I'm in the Midlands, it's about right in the middle of the country. 1080p, yes, gotta like that. Hello Bob, do you think modern particulate filters are still a problem for low mileage diesels? No. Well, yes and no. There is two answers to that actually. So if you don't know what a particulate filter is, it's a filter that filters particulates. So when a car emits NOx and CO2, they are heavy particles. You can get them in your hand like soot, and you can rub it. Don't do that, by the way, but you can actually see it. So as the car emits that, it gets caught in a filter called a DPF, a diesel particulate filter. There is now a gasoline particulate filter as well, a GPF on petrol cars. So the soot gets trapped there, and when the car reaches a certain temperature, a very high temperature, it was a problem. You had to go on the motorway and redden it, it would burn. It would go through a cycle of burning that soot a second time and make it even smaller, and would just filter out the back as being nothing. Now, very modern, the last 3-4 years, no problem. You go back maybe 5 years, you're starting to get to the point where DPF is a problem. And as before, they brought in AdBlue. So AdBlue is pig urine. That's not a joke. That's actually what it's made from. It's made from a distilled pig urine. Made from urine in general, but it's pigs mostly. And what to do is they inject that urine into the DPF, and that lowers the overall temperature that soot burns at. So it can burn on a normal cycle just driving around town. It doesn't need to go out in the motorway. So before DPF, before AdBlue, if you have a DPF, it can be a big problem if you don't run it in properly. If you go back before DPF, you won't have any of these problems. Right, it goes away. So very modern engines, no problem for low mileage in the last 3-4 years. Before that, can be a problem. I shouldn't have mentioned solar powered cars, says Sim. No, well, no. Cross says the solution is not enough solar PV production, is more panels. A good solar estimation tool for the US government accidentally left up, works worldwide. That's true. I've actually flown in over, not Barcelona, it may have been Malaga in Spain. But anyway, on the flight path as you're going over, you actually pass over a solar production facility, which is, I don't know how many acres, but from the sky it looks very impressive. It's gigantic, and that produces a crap load of electricity for Spain. I mean, that part of Spain, obviously, and of course Spain is full of sun usually. But now, in fairness, this year has been very low sun output for the entire of Europe, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Owen says the Focus ? Oh, and you might have asked that 20 minutes ago. Actually, I'm answering questions from 2:24 p.m. So I'm keeping up with you lot. How dare you? And there's over 100 people watching. Over 100 people watching now. That link that Cross has put up there uses the weather data for my location, even Burr, which would be the closest one to me. I know that sounds like, if you're not from the country, that sounds like someone going, oh my God, it's cold, Burr. But Burr is a place in Ireland, as is Emo, a place in Ireland just up the road. That sounds like, a black eye makeup and things, emo, but that's what we call it. John Carn Duff says, do you remember the Mazda MX-3, smallest V6 engine in the world, if I recall? Correct. Collector's item right now, as is the RX-8 for Mazda. Two collector's item. If you can get one to work properly, that is, the rotary engine, the Wankel engine, was not a great reliability thing. Pennywise says, any thoughts on the Dieselgate and why do you think VW Group sales are blooming despite deliberately producing poisonous cars for so many years? It's rather strange customer behaviour. Your thoughts? It's not customer behaviour. We, human beings, and particularly modern young human beings, have the memory of a goldfish. They seem to go crashing through a day of getting upset by everything that happens on Twitter, and then tomorrow they get upset by a whole different realm of things without wondering what happened to stuff they got upset about yesterday. VW very cleverly relied on that fact and just went, you know what, let's just fire them. Leave that guy arrested in the US and start making electric cars, and let's not discuss diesel ever again. And that's basically what diesel did, or VW did. It was very clever. Perfect marketing, very, very good PR system. I know a lot of people working in Volkswagen PR in both Germany and Ireland, and amazing job they did at taking a full page ad out in the Irish Times apologising for betraying the trust of their customers, and then not giving any refunds or any money or nothing, just closing the door and went, well, we apologise, see you now. And that's basically what happened. Now it's just the march is on now for electric. They have bought shares in basically any company that's making electric around the world. They're now out giving speeches to people. They're going on to press conferences and conferences in general and all these future energy production conferences and giving speeches at them. And this is a company that a few years ago were killing Europeans by poisoning them with NOx. So we all make mistakes, and some people got the blame for it, and they've moved on. But at the same time, over the next 5 or 6 years, you'll see that everyone will have totally forgotten what happened there, and we'll just continue marching towards our inevitable lung cancerous death. Derek O'Keefe, hi Bob, hope you're keeping well. Thinking of buying a new Toyota Camry for a taxi. What's your honest opinion and give up a price because of its size? There's a full review on my channel of a Toyota Camry. It's my favourite hybrid car if you're looking for a car. It's one of my favourite cars this year to come out at all. Infotainment system would be the only one that would slightly damage its reputation towards something European, but as reliability goes, fuel economy, the size of the engine, size of the back seat, size of the boot, all the stuff that matters to you, it's going to be 100%. There is actually a Toyota Camry in Portlaoise here, a 131, drives around as a taxi still, and that was the older one. That works fine. Prius is a bit small, yeah, it is. And I know guys with Prius who have 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 miles on the clock and they're still working perfectly. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. And it's a Toyota. Like, you just know everything in a Toyota is going to still be working in that Toyota in 30 years. That's a quote from Sinead McCann if she's watching. Thanks, Sinead. If you haven't, I have a raspberry bush out in the backyard, and every morning I get a couple of raspberries off it, but every day a bloody blackbird turns up and eats the bloody raspberries as well. I'll kill that blackbird. Anyway, it's a little woman blackbird. She's babies to feed, so it'll be fine. I can spare a few. Pennywise, if you were to buy a brand new car, Pennywise is very new and comes with very logical questions. I'm very dubious now as to where this is going to go. But anyway, if you were to buy a brand new mainstream family car, do you have any particular model you choose, or maybe a brand or possibly a look into the couple of specific brands you prefer? Not really. Everything has to fit what you need it to do. The very first thing a car has to do is to be a car, which is be able to put people in it and transport them to the next thing with all their stuff in safety and comfort. That's really the primary purpose behind the cars. After that, 80% of happy ownership is the style of the car. Looking out the window at the car and going, that's a very good car and I'm very proud to be driving it. Which is the only reason that Alfa Romeo sell any cars. The only reason Fiat sell any cars, because they look great. Not because they drive great or because they're brilliant or because they're great all-rounders. They just look fantastic. So brand-wise, I'm totally unloyal. I'm the same with getting haircuts, shopping for clothes and stuff. I don't care about brand. I have no interest whatsoever. I will go wherever it is cheapest or most reliable or the best I can get or the best I can afford. So not particularly, I don't really have a preference for any one brand or any particular brand. There's some good brands out there doing some good work at the moment. One of them would be Toyota's doing great work. They've really ramped up their stuff this year. Nissan have fallen away. Citroen are doing good stuff visually, but always did. Not so sure about their engine choices and electric choices and things. Skoda were doing fantastic work over all the years, but have been left hanging for electric cars, for hybrid cars, for anything innovative in the energy sector. So the ones that are doing the best work at the moment are Kia. If I had to buy into a brand tomorrow, Kia with the 7-year warranty, 150,000 kilometer warranty, 7 years, good range of cars, nice range of petrol, diesel and electric engines. I suppose that if I had to choose, that would be the one. Andrew Daly, I really look forward to your videos, Bob. Thanks, Andrew, you're very good. You're no BS bloke. That's pretty much it. Your honesty is refreshing. However, anything that comes to however is going to end well. I have to watch later. It's sunny here. Looking forward to saying hi when I'm next in Manchester. Thanks, Andrew. Get outside, yes. Enjoy the sun while it's there because we have nothing but grey cloud at the moment. It was sunny this morning. I went filming this morning with the Kia e-Soul and it was a beautiful day out there. My first experience with a hybrid was not a good one. It was a 2009 Honda Insight. Test drove it, hated, walked away. The CVT gearbox on the model is terrible. CVT up until the last couple of years has always been terrible. The reason people pick CVT is because it's constantly variable transmission. It's not really actually a gearbox in the traditional sense of a gearbox. It can be, if you floor it, you can have 5 gears. If you don't floor it, it can have 20 gears. It's weird. It's witchcraft, but it's also light, and that's why it's been used over the years, because it doesn't weigh a lot when you put it in. And that's mainly it. But right now I couldn't tell the difference between CVT and DSG unless the car is under horrendous pressure, like the RAV4 the other day. You drive that and you suddenly find you can hear it again, but mostly engine. Sorry, right. I'm getting messages on my phone as well. Don't forget you can support this channel. You can buy the Bring Back Knobs t-shirt. You can buy the hoodie that says, what's that say? See you on the far side, it says there. You can buy that as well, all on Teespring if you like. If you don't like that, you can go to the Amazon store. You can buy things there. You can buy anything on Amazon, by the way. You can use the link down below to go to Amazon and buy anything. You don't have to buy anything from the shop I've made. Buy anything. That link that got you there, I get a little tiny figure off that. Or you can just send money by PayPal, Patreon, or Super Chat right here. Whatever way you want to. Remember, this channel is totally unfunded. It's all funded by me. Gary Maitland says, will you test the MG ZSE? Not unless they bring one over to the Republic of Ireland. I won't, no. Or unless MG want me to come over to England and test it there. That they'd have to get me over there to test it. Patrick Patton says, what do you think of the Toyota CHR? That is my favourite looking car in the market at the moment. Very pretty looking thing. Particularly if you get the bigger alloys, the blue, there's an electric sort of blue in it and a black roof. Looks great. Buy it in hybrid though. Don't buy it in the petrol one. Buy the hybrid one. Just future protect yourself a little bit. Best to do it that way. But it's a very pretty car. Bit dark in the back seat and the boot's a tiny bit small, but I can live with that. Brian Derrick is answering questions to someone. I buy a petrol car for the next 4 years. He's answering someone else's question. I have a Kona EV out for test next weekend. I haven't driven it yet as I was focused on the e-Niro as the good version. Going camping on Loch Ree with it. It's just a bit small. It's a good car. It's just a bit small on the interior. The e-Soul and the e-Niro has the space out of the two. Why do you believe the whole auto industry and customer base moved from car sedans to SUV hype? Would it keep on going at the same pace and trend, and for how long? It will keep going because cars are designed in sort of 5 to 7 year cycles. Well, say 4 to 7 year cycles. So when a Golf comes out, like the Volkswagen current model generation Volkswagen Golf 7 came out, I think in 2010 or something. Was it 2010 or 2011? I can't remember, whatever it was. Then there's from that moment it's released, the next generation has already been designed. They've already started that at that point. Then they do a model refresh, a midlife crisis is what generally we call it, which might adjust to, it'll make corrections to the car, it'll make a modern car again out of it. And then 5 to 7 years later, they'll bring out an entirely new model. Not if you work for Fiat, the Fiat 500 has just been 500 since forever, but if you work for almost every other modern car company, you'll find there'll be a new model every 5 or 7 years. And that brand new model will bring brand new things, brand new looks, brand new everything to it. So 5 or 7 years ago, they started doing SUVs, and even further back. So you look back at the Nissan Qashqai or something, which kind of kicked off that segment, and they've been playing catch up on that ever since. And now they can make a chassis, a multiverse chassis, so a simple chassis that works across a ton of cars. So the Volkswagen started that one with their chassis system. They were able to move it from a Golf to a Passat to something else, just change the length of it, so that the expense of the chassis and the engine's gone out of it. So now they can put the same engine, same chassis, same gearbox, same running gear, same tyres, same wheels, same all that stuff, and just change the body. And then when they want to make an SUV version, they put in tougher suspension and it's just changed the engine a little bit, or put out more horsepower, and it's done. So that's why the trend is happening. It's very cheap to keep the trend moving. It's also very fashionable, very fashion based. A lot of people like to be slightly higher off the ground, ergo the Renault Captur, which kind of really started. Renault Captur actually got into that segment long before anyone else did, in that small kind of svelte crossover. It allows you to get a little bit taller off the ground, but it's actually based on a Renault Clio. So that's where that started out. It will continue. It's definitely going to continue in the next couple of years, although you will see a resurgence back out to the saloon and the 5-door hatch again. Brian says EV will save you 4,000 to 5,000 a year, so why not take an extra holiday? But it won't save your kids. They're better in urban areas, more fun, and saves you cash in the long run. If you're willing to sit down with an Excel spreadsheet and calculate that savings, you'll save it. That's how that works. That's the only way you'll see it. And I can say this categorically because I gave up smoking. I used to smoke 20 cigarettes a day 4 years ago, and I know exactly to the penny how much money I spent on cigarettes every single week, and I know exactly how much money I saved over those 4 years since I gave up, and I'll show you how much I saved. But I also know that I don't have that money. So I am 4 years, 1 month and 28 days without smoking, and I have saved €15,203. I can absolutely categorically tell you that I don't have €15,203 anywhere, not even the sniff of that. That's an annual savings of €3,650 a year. The reason I don't have it is because the minute you stop spending it on something, you spend it on something else. That's all that happens. So you will not save €4,000 to €5,000 a year. You will find another way to spend that money. That's what happens. You will save money currently if you change from petrol or diesel to electric today. For the rest of this year, you will continue to save money. After that, you don't know what way the price of electricity is going to go. You don't know what ESB Ireland is going to do. You don't know whether you're going to be able to charge on the street for free or not. None of that. That's all up in the air. That's all pie in the sky stuff. So just take those kind of comments with a grain of salt. That's not the answer to everything. Cross says BMW were wishy-washy about a follow-on of the i3 and i8. Practically the entire development team left for other companies, mainly Brighton, Tesla, Rivian. Lots of them saw EV as the future of their career. Now BMW is trying desperately to hire some of them back. I see the managing director of BMW has jumped ship as well. He's gone too after only 5 years in the job, and that's down to the entire EV market moving really fast, and BMW seem to be just sitting. And it's funny because I just find it really annoying that BMW has such a good head start on the i3 and i8. They did such a good job at doing cool recyclable and recycled parts for cars and everything, and then it just seemed to grind to a halt. It just seemed to kind of grind its way down, not get any further. Very annoying as a journalist from the outside of that car company to look at that car company and go, why aren't you doing this? And they're still not doing it. Cahill Harrington says, did you see the whole controversy with the YouTuber in the UK that got caught out for modifying his M4 that was on finance? What are your thoughts on it? He was an idiot. Straightforward enough. An absolute tool bag. That's entirely his own fault. And I say it here nearly every week when I'm talking about PCP, or I'm talking about contract plans, or I'm talking about buying your car, leasing your car. I tell you the same thing every time. Read the terms and conditions of the agreement. Everybody walks into the dealership, and the dealership goes, sure, no problem, give you finance. Yeah, just sign here. You don't even read the thing. You don't know what you're getting involved in. That YouTuber, and I saw it, he got an M4, he went off and he went out and modified the thing. It was on finance. They weren't happy because now it's a modified car. It's not the same car he was sold. And there's a massive controversy blown up over the whole thing. There's no controversy. He broke the terms of the contract. He bought an M4 and he went off and put on all sorts of exhaust systems and wheels and everything else. Stupid person with too much money and too much time in her hands. Aren't worth your worry about it at all. But that happens every day to ordinary people. Happens all the time. If you don't know the agreement you're in, you're an idiot. That's just that straightforward. If you're after getting yourself into a mortgage or a loan or whatever it is, whatever the legal circumstance around what you're doing, and you don't understand it, then you haven't done the research and you shouldn't be doing it, because you're killing yourself, and in your future is not going to help you. Alan Quinn says, good afternoon, Bob. Loving the show. Come on, Alan. Glad to have you here. Brandon Kelly says, what are your thoughts on the first generation Chrysler 300 thinking of buying an 09 model? Brilliant car. Rots like hell. Be very careful of rust on it. Anything underneath on the bottom sills, round the doors, bottom of the doors, under the doors. Anything, if it spent time near the sea at any point of its life, it's going to fall asunder. If you can get a good clean one, get a decent engine one. The engine's indestructible. Forget about it. It's a Fiat engine went into that yoke. It is like a tank. The bigger ones are like a tank. It will keep going because it's a truck engine. That's why. But underneath, the bits and pieces around it, check for rust. If there's even the smallest bit of rust, run, because it's tin worm. It's going to get into everything and it'll be everywhere in the car in a blink of an eye. But total collector's item. If it was minded at all, it's going to be worth a fortune in the future. Particularly if you can get the old V8. There was definitely a V8. Wasn't there a Chrysler V8 one? I'm sure there was. That came to Ireland and England. Wasn't really sold here, but you'll find a few of them in England. Liam Cotter says, what's happening in October in the car market? October's budget time in Ireland. And right now, with the climate action plan that came out a while ago, which is a joke, the worst action plan I've ever seen in my entire life, none of it's ever going to happen. But anyway, with the climate action plan thing coming out, if the government makes adjustments in tax and the way VRT works here, or the way tax system works here, or they're going to start upping the tax on older model cars, or another thing they could do is to equalise the tax between petrol and diesel, making them the same price at the pumps, or they could change the VAT on insurance, or they could mess around with the tax. It's the messing, the little bits and pieces that they do to the budget that will have a knock-on effect across the industry. The reason the Toyota RAV4 is sold out, the reason the e-Niro is sold out, the reason what else is sold out, or the BMW, some of the BMWs are sold out. And I'll tell you why. Because car companies in Ireland cannot order their next year's stock until October, until they get that budget results. They don't want to order 500 diesels, 100 electrics, 50 hybrids when the tax incentive goes to hybrid, and they're stuck with all them diesels. See, the Department of Finance might as well stick both its hands underneath its ass cheeks like that and just sit on it, because that is all they're useful for at the moment. God, I'd love to work in government, but only if it was a dictatorship. Brian says, which of these hybrid cars would go with the one being first, then your second choice, then your third choice? All are 2014 to 2015 models. Okay. Outlander PHEV, Merc E300 hybrid, Camry 2014 hybrid 2014. I would go Camry, Merc and Outlander in that order. There you go. Well done, Jonathan Ria, on 3 in a row at Donington Park. Wood Superbike Championship on a row. Superbike's on as well. See, everything happens on the same day. Everybody wants to be part of the Sunday service. Everybody gets a mention and meet out. Anyway, Superbike Champion. I actually like Superbike Champions. It's pretty good. Hudson says hello. Hello, how are you? Nepali Video says hi, hello. Thanks. And he's got a YouTube logo as well as his logo. I like it. Jump forward there on a second. Come back up, please. Come back up. Right, we're here. Brendan C5 says, no problems with the Citroen C5 hydraulic suspension, Bob. Just replaced the 4 tired spheres as I could start feeling the road under me. I know it's gas, and you can start feeling the road. It's true, it's a C5. You really can't feel anything when you're going along. Such a quiet well presented car that was, heavily overlooked, and then they just forgot about it, make it worse. Citroen Ireland just went C5, don't know about that, you forget about it. And that's the problem with Citroen, actually. You know that really is the problem with Citroen. They reinvent the wheel every time they make a new model. Every single time they just go, no, we learned nothing from making all those cars. We're just going to make this car now. That's it. Anyway, Cross says 350-acre solar PV plant being built just near Stradbally. I think they've scaled it down to 141 acres because of NIMBY objectors. I'm not surprised. You know what? The amount of people in this Midlands region who start talking, don't get them started. I go on the radio one day and I said about the propellers, you know, the system we have right now for generating electricity from the big propellers, which I can't remember the name of. It's not terrible. I'm like, it's like Alzheimer's after hopping in my head all of a sudden. I can't switch my head that fast. But those, I mentioned them on the radio. I might as well have thrown a hand grenade into a room. The amount of people that come on them, they're too noisy, they're too big, they're unsightly, they don't look well, it's terrible, there's no space for them. And now we're looking at solar PV, which we could use in the Midlands as well, easy enough. But no, we don't want that either. God, no, you can't do that. You can drive up the solar panels in other countries. I have a picture of me standing in Austria beside a solar panel PV factory, one side of me, a massive thing, and then a whole heap of other renewable devices all around the place. Absolutely brilliant. You can get them everywhere. They're all over the place. Anyway, Dominic Gavin says, Bob, I bought a Seat Ateca, good car, 181, 2 litre, 4 drive. I used Seat Configurator recently, and the same spec with nearly €3,000 more minus the 4-wheel drive system. Does this now mean the second-hand price will go up? Yes, it does. Prices in relation to what's being sold at the moment. If your car is the same spec as the one they're doing right now, your second-hand values will be rising. Cars will rise again in October because all the WLTP changes were deferred to October, so some cars will still continue to rise through to October. You can depend on people like Kia have done the homework, their WLTP prices right now. Toyota has done the figures already as well. I think BMW's done their figures already as well. So a lot of them have already, the prices has happened. Say it will be one of the other ones as well where it's gone up now. But you might find some small stepping changes in October as to whether the price will go up. But yes, your car is valued based on the same way as theirs cars are. So you bought at the right time. Well done, Dominic. You've made a big saving. Rock Knock SR says, my right shoulder. There's nothing on my right shoulder. But on this, is it this right or that right there? He says it's just staying on my right shoulder. I don't see any stain on my right shoulder. It's a white t-shirt. How can it be stained? XCO has joined. Come on, XCO. There's a lot of people here today. It's going to be a busy day, boys. John Carnduff says dual mass flywheels seem to be a common problem and can be horrendously expensive. Correct. Learn how to change it yourself. It's a lot cheaper. Have you heard of Valio single piece kits that said to perform as well as dual mass but be more reliable? No, I haven't. Be very careful of that one. Valio now will be a company I know very well and I've used many hundreds of their parts over the years. They are a big company. Continental will be second, I think, to Continental. Continental would make nearly everything in your car at some point or another. Valio would be very close to them. I haven't heard of a single piece kit. Dual mass flywheels will be something that I've installed before, and I know many mechanics have installed it before. They are expensive for sure. They don't go very often. They're looked after. The cars looked after generally. Mass flywheels tend to stay. They tend to be okay. You could try out the Valio one if you really want to, but I wouldn't make any massive changes away from what you've already got. It can often cause you even more problems when it's like this big single piece thing. But it's not a huge job to change a dual mass flywheel on your own, yourself, in your own car if you want to. XEO says Kia is the best. There you go now. You have it on good authority from XEO that Kia is the best. Jeff says, why is so many people paying €20,000 for a 200,000 kilometre onboard BMW Mercedes second-hand car instead of buying a new Mitsubishi or Kia or some other brand? Because people are snobs, Jeff. Snobs. People are very posh. Oh God, you have to be very posh. You have to go out and find yourself a good old BMW because that's posh. It doesn't matter that 40 of your neighbours own a BMW. You're posh because you have a BMW. It's a brand thing. We're very brand aware in Ireland. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. Ireland was dirt poor into the 90s. We had no money in the 80s. God, we didn't have a car in the 80s. Now, unless you have a car with a massive brand on the front of it, you're at nothing. Skoda has had to spend 30 bleeding years trying to get themselves up into the brand market, and they're still not there. Renault's trying desperately to get themselves up in the brand market because they're not there either. You still look at Audi, Mercedes and BMW as premium brands. They call themselves premium brands. They don't call themselves luxury brands anymore, because luxury now, of course, is Rolls Royce and Bentley and up the other end of that. But they're premium brands. Now, at the same time, those 3 brands feature in the top 10 sales. So I don't know how premium or exclusive they can be if there's so many of them on the road. But yes, you'd be mad. Kia, Hyundai's a bit expensive, but Kia does pretty good in the older cars. Some of the older cars are good. They got good in the last 7 or 8, 10 years or so. Kia is starting to get really good. Hyundai was okay, again, 10 years back, weren't so brilliant. Cross says another 2 PV plants in Montmellick and beside Portlaoise JAA Club, all waiting for the government to clarify feed-in. We'll be surrounded soon. Yeah, well, as long as it does nothing to the environment, I don't care. Like, I'm okay with something that is not just CO2, it doesn't go up or down, which that's all right. I can live with that. But as long as by putting in a solar PV, we're not cooking worms in the ground or something, I'm okay with that then. I'm fine. I don't mind where the energy comes from as long as it's renewable. That's all I want, is to get rid of these peat-powered fire plant things. I mean, that one's being investigated now for boiling water coming out into the River Shannon. Like, it's ridiculous. Anyway, Andy Tierney says, hey Bob, exclamation mark, good man, great to see you're nearly at 40,000 subs. I know I'm very close, under 1,000 people to go. Don't unsubscribe or I'll come around and kick your head in or something. But you can make sure you subscribe, because I want to get to 40,000 subscribers before the end of the next week, like, hopefully. Surprised you're not on a Turn Your Car show. Just couldn't get there. Wife working, kids at home, everyone's on holidays. 15 quid a ticket's not, 30 quid for a family to go into that class. That's an investment and a half. Seriously, Turn Your Car show, that's a bit expensive, I think. 20 quid for a family is more than enough for a family of 4. Anyway, I wish I could stuck on and work AIB head office. Sorry, do photography, but really, as you already know, I already do photography. Yeah, good man, Andy, well done. You're at the AIB headquarters and you're watching my yacht. XEO is going to end up getting banned if you keep doing that. XEO, right, we gotta go. Yeah, I see you're already doing it, right. XEO, you see, it's lovely when you come. I love people coming and commenting, it's great. Would you just condense your comment into one person, one comment, not 10 comments? I can't keep up. I can see your messages, it's deadly, but we'd have to delete you of it. Want T9 to get reviewing cars, but want to start, but how? So you want to learn how to review cars. So how to review cars is straightforward enough. Find a YouTube channel that has 40,000 subs, subscribe to that, and then tell them you're going to do all of the videos for them, and then that channel will arrange those cars. No, that's not going to happen. But so if you want to learn how to review cars for yourself, you want to get your way into it, car companies will give you a car if you have an audience. It's kind of a chicken and egg scenario. So you got to be an influence over a certain number of people, whether that be newspaper, magazine, a parish newsletter, an outlet of some sort, whatever it is. Now, I'm fortunate, I have my own outlet. This YouTube channel is completely mine, not owned by someone else. I don't share it with someone else. No one else has ownership over it in any way, shape or form. It's mine entirely. So that means, in that respect, I get to say whatever I want to say really about the cars, and I get to pick and choose what gets published and what doesn't. If you work for somebody else, you're at the behest of them. And so people who work for the Irish Times or the Indo or the Star, the Sun, I do work for the Daily Star, so once in a while. I did work for the Metro. That's a different story. You give them the stuff and you hope they're going to publish it all. That can be another way out as well. But often the best way in is to try and get a publication that hasn't currently got someone employed to do the job. They have space for a motoring bit, and he said, listen, give us 50 quid a week and I'll review cars for you. Get paid. You devalue my work and everyone else out there who does this for a living by doing things for free. Just telling you want to do your internship for free, you're devaluing someone else who does that job as a job. Hudson says, I'm from Japan. Good question. What kind of Japanese car do you like? All of them, apart from some of the Mitsubishis. Most of them. Honda make great cars. They do. They look a bit weird, but they make great cars. Toyota make really good cars. Again, they look a little bit weird, but the cars are really, really good. Nissan don't do so well in cars. I think they've lost their way dreadfully. They're getting into bed there with Renault over the last few years was a really big mistake. Renault getting into bed with Nissan over the last few years was a really big mistake as well. So there's a lot going on there, but other than that, there's a lot of Japanese cars are pretty good. Patrick Patton, when will we be doing a video of the new RAV4 Hybrid? There will be a video out tomorrow morning, Patrick. RAV4 versus Honda CR-V, myself and Sinead McCann, and I will have my own video of the RAV4 out next week some stage as well. So an individual video of the RAV4. 2 videos. Lucky. Aren't they lucky, those Toyota feckers? Liam, can't pronounce your last name. What car would you recommend for a budget of €10,000? Single man, thinking along the lines of 320 CD. Yeah, 320 would be good. Yeah, this is for a single guy. Make sure it's rear wheel drive though, not 4-wheel drive or any of that stuff. 10 grand for a single guy. Why wouldn't you buy a Mazda MX-5 or something? You're single, like, you know, why don't you have a sports car? Something like that. Something weird. Something a bit off the wall. Even like an Abarth Fiat 500 or something. You know, something that's a bit of fun. Something you can enjoy. BMWs are so, like, you know, normal. Sorry, BMW, but you know what I mean. They're like a normal choice. You'd buy one if you have a family, girlfriend or something you want to hoover about in a convertible 320. Gary Riddle says to Cahill, there's another YouTuber that's had VW cancel the finance on a Golf R because he vlogged about modifying it. Finance a car and you don't own it until it's paid off. Simple is absolutely right. You do not own anything on finance. You don't own your house, you don't own your laptop, you don't own your car, you don't own any of that stuff if you finance it. The finance company owns it until you make the final payment. You will see it constantly. You watch a car ad on television and it'll say in a little tiny print, you might have to pause car companies because they always keep it nice and small, but it always says at the bottom, the property is not yours until the final payment has been made. And that is the facts, guys. You buy a car from a car company on PCP or whatever it is, you bring it home, you drive it around, you decide to change the colour and change the wheels. It's not yours to do that with. It belongs to the car company until you have finished paying for it. So always understand that. That is the same for financing anything, whatever it is you're buying on finance. If you bought a house and you got your mortgage and you're living in it for 10 years and the mortgage is 25 years long, the house is not yours for another 15 years. That's the way it works. This house will probably never be mine. I'll probably be dead before this house is paid off. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Peter Brown, hi Bob. I've heard that the Kia 7-year warranty is not as good as there's so many exclusions. Any reports on this? I can categorically tell you that Kia is the only company in Ireland that I have never personally received a email from a user about when it comes to warranty issues. Car companies exclude all sorts of things from warranties over time, right? Volvo, 2-year warranty. Is it Mercedes that only have a 1-year warranty or a 2-year warranty? Whatever it is, it's not very long, right? Volkswagen, 3-year warranty. But if you look at the 3rd year, there's all kinds of things excluded from the 3rd year. So Kia do the same thing over 7 years. So they exclude it over time. Now, bear in mind, 7 years or 150,000 kilometres. So at 151,000 kilometres, your car's not warranted. If you did that in 1 year, that's your problem, right? Or if you did that in 5 years, still your problem. Hyundai have a 5-year warranty, but it's unlimited mileage. So you can go as many miles as you want over the 5 years, still under warranty. But there is always step downs. Again, read the contract you're getting into, but I never get a complaint of anyone who comes back to a Kia dealership under warranty. If it's still in warranty, there's never any complaints about getting stuff done. So just bear that in mind, that's the one thing. That's the only way I can report it, because I have nothing to do. I never hold on to cars long enough to have anything go wrong with them. I only have them for 4 or 5 days at a time. How do you expect Brexit affecting UK, Ireland, Scotland automakers in terms of both production and consumer preferences? Would consumers help their economy with local built brands or the opposite? You can't buy local built brands when it comes to car companies. Everything is imported for a car. Everything in every country is imported. A car is made up of thousands of pieces. Those thousands of pieces are manufactured worldwide. There's companies in Cork and Galway here in Ireland that manufacture bits for Volkswagen. There's manufacture bits for Audis. There's all kind of Audi Q8, half the bloody car, or not Q8, the e-tron, half of it's made here in Ireland. Like tons of it is. It's all exported or imported into the country. You cannot buy a local car in a local, like made across the road car Even a guy who makes cars in a garage himself makes one every 3 years. He imports everything into that car. So that's not possible. But Brexit is going to do a lot of things that now the carpet has been pulled from under, because car companies here have already figured out how to get cars without having to use the UK to do it. They've already done deals. The deals are finished. The deals are over. It makes no difference now what Britain does. They can exit all they want, or they can stay in. The deals are already done. The damage has already been done to Britain. It's already done. So just bear that in mind. All those car companies that are closing, the engine plant is closed for Ford, Nissan shutting its stuff down there, Mini Oxford looking a little bit ropey at times, Ford and Dagenham looking a bit ropey. They're all looking at their feet because the damage is done, boys. It's already over with. They're finished. The UK won't be manufacturing the way they used to be manufacturing before. They're a big market, but they're in a much bigger market. Connor Nugent says, CO2 and NOx aren't captured by the DPF. They are gases. That's not what I said. But anyway. DPF is designed to catch carbon particles. That's what I said when I said rubbing it between your fingers. Carbon particles is literally burnt off. Screed is NOx, most ammonia made by Haber-Bosch process. Yes, you're right, but it's what you're just reiterating what I said. What I said was CO2 and NOx comes out through the back. It creates a dust particle, a very small dust particle, but you can feel it between your fingertips, which is carbon. Is basically what it's creating. Love my 2016 i3 REX. You're one of the last people on earth that has a proper REX model. They're gone. The range extender model is finished. Stephen Scariff, enjoying so far. Good man, Stephen. I'm answering questions 2:56, so I'm kind of keeping up. I'm about 20 minutes behind you. Peter Dolan. Oh my god, I hate when it jumps forward. I thought it really does drive me mad when it does that. I'm coming back up to you. Oh, I'm still coming. Peter Dolan, have you watched the new Top Gear lineup? Not awful as I expected, but the constant makeup taking on a Harris Theatre 2 is getting a bit tired. It is miserable. The first episode was good because I hadn't seen it before. The second episode, I watched about 15 minutes of it and went, this is the same old ganging up on the little guy stuff I saw in the first episode. And the third episode, I just didn't bother watching. I just haven't watched it. The magic is gone, lads. They had their chance. They brought in a cricketer and a fella who used to do Take Me Out and a comedian kind of actor dude, and they put it in with the fella who's the most uncomfortable. Chris Harris looks the most uncomfortable television personality I have ever seen. He was much nicer when I met him a few years. I met him a couple of years ago. It was at the BMW M4 M3 launch in Portimao. We did donuts together. I actually tweeted a photograph of him in the car behind me. We were going to race. We had a little race, but he overtook me while he was drifting. Lovely guy. He looks so uncomfortable now. So he made the BBC, but his money's made. His bed is made. Is done now. Stuck now. I'm just glad I didn't apply. I'm glad I didn't turn out to be the other guy, whatever his name was. He's gone as well, isn't he? He's on the miserable show, the Top Gear Little or whatever it's called on BBC 3 or 4. He's on that now with every other modern journalist every other posh person who ever decided to review a car. Sorry, I find most modern journalists in the UK are really posh guys who tell you what to do all the time as if they know everything about cars because they have tons of money. My daily driver is something. And you're going, your daily driver? What do you mean your daily driver? You mean you have more than one car? You can afford to have more than one car and be a modern journalist. How does that work? Anyway, sorry. But Top Gear is miserable looking at the moment. I'm sorry, it's never going to recover. It's never going to. You need to scrap it and start again. I've said this multiple times. I could make a new Top Gear. There are multiple guys out there who can make a new Top Gear, but it can't be the Top Gear that they're after right now, which is which is a comedy show, a comedy sketch show that features cars every once in a while. Brutus82 says, Bob, surely if you have a car in PCP and swap it out for winter tyres as spurious alloys during the winter, there can't be a problem. Yes, there is a problem. It is not yours to swap. You would have to get permission from the finance company or from the dealer or get it done in an authorised way. I promise you, if you swap it for winter tyres and you crash it, you're still going to have to pay for it. And the insurance may not pay out because you're supposed to tell your insurance company when you make structural changes to your car of any kind, and that includes wheels and tyres. So you're obviously not, your finance will be in jeopardy and your insurance will be in jeopardy if you start messing around with it in wintertime and change anything on the car. It's a modification. It's a modification, however you work it out. Jason Juggler says, hello, Bob Flavin. I managed to make my name in colour. Well done. How does that work? What do you do? Do you add somebody and make their name and colour like that? That's pretty cool. Pennywise, do you believe that if all of the cars in the country, you must save these questions up for ages, do you? Does it hurt? Because you're really good at asking questions. You really are. Do you believe that if all the cars in the country or EU were over 7 years old, we could have under 7 years old? Sorry, we could see a significant reduction in car accidents, amount of people being hurt, and reduction of fatalities in general. First of all, there's no such thing as a car accident. There is a collision. So accident suggests that no one is to blame. That's the word accident. This is why the police have stopped using it and all that. A collision suggests that it's just a collision. Something has happened and nobody knows who's to blame. So that's how that works. But anyway, if the cars were under 7 years old, would you see a reduction in collisions? No. Collisions are caused by cars. Or by drivers, sorry. Collisions are caused by drivers. Driver behaviour modification takes education. It doesn't take new cars. New cars can mitigate fatalities in collisions and can actually mitigate collisions to some degree because of ABS or better tyre systems, but only if they're minded in the first place. Generally speaking, the way to reduce the amount of collisions that happens on the road is driver education, and driver particularly re-education. So drivers getting more education and going further than the normal test requires. In Ireland, you don't have to be tested on motorways. You're not giving any instructions on dual carriages or motorways during your driving lessons. Some companies do that by default, other companies don't. There's no particular legislation to it. And yet motorways manages to be the safest places on earth, and we ban learner drivers from being on motorways in the first place. We actually have legislation that says you'll be prosecuted for driving your car as a learner driver on the motorway. There's no other way to Dublin from here other than using the motorway. You run out of dual carriageway after a while. You have to go on the motorway. So they've designated the motorway a dual carriageway. It's crazy. Like, it's stupid. The way to get people to stop crashing cars is to teach them how not to crash cars. You should go to Mondello Park and do a driver's day, a track day with them guys. They got cars there. They got Nomex suits. They got helmets. They got driving instructors to do it all. Go up to Rally School Ireland. Do a drive there. Go learn what it's like to brake a car at 100% of its effort. And I mean, go and flat out, boot to the boards, and then to push that brake pedal all the way down to the floor. Learn how to do that. And that's how you get around accidents. Go and talk to army drivers, Garda drivers. They crash the least when they have the most education. So there you go. Tom Byrne, what's your thought on a Renault Zoe? Would it be a good first EV? Not the current model? No, Tom. Don't know if you're Tom Byrne from Kildare Town. I used to live up the road from Tom from Burns. Could be Tom Byrne from there. But anyway, is it a first good? Look, it's a good EV. Starting out, it's small, it's light, it works. It's able to get from A to B easy enough. But the seats are unsupported. There's a brand new model coming later on this year with a longer range on it and better seating, better interior. It does feel pretty tired inside. There is a video I just put out the other day, a few days ago. It seems like so many videos, but a video put out a few days ago of the current model that you can buy, the run-out model of the Renault Zoe. But there is a new one, probably August, September, something like that. It'll be out here regularly. You'll see it in the dealerships if they can get batteries. That'll be the other part of that. There's enough batteries around to do it. Zdenko is here. Hi Bob, what's the story about night driving on the continent with Irish car on new LED lights? Do you have to stick those special stickers on lights like before? Some dealers can swap your LEDs to drive the other way. There's a software tweak to make the lights drive left and right. I've seen that now. It's only in a certain amount of cars. The rest of the time, the car will actually, some cars can actually detect what country they're in and will change the LEDs for you. That is in some of the premium brands, though I wouldn't expect that to be in like a Ford Focus or something. But yes, you still have to change your lights over to change from one side to the other when you're going from here to there. Because your lights are up the ditch this way when you're on this side of the road, but on their side of the road it'll be up the ditch that way, so it'll blind everybody coming at you. The new announced 52 kilowatt Zoe be great. I don't know if it's great. I haven't driven it. Don't make an assumption that something's great because a marketing person tells you it is. No. Hi Bob, recently passed my driving test. Well done, congratulations. Would love to start driving some EVs. Do dealerships require to have a license for a certain amount of time driving for test driving? Not really. You'd have to be over a certain age to get. Well, no, you can go for a test drive with someone in a car as long as the dealer's coming with you. So the dealer will sit beside you. Just bear that in mind. The dealer's going to be in the car with you. He doesn't care what way you drive as long as you buy a car. That's all he cares. So you shouldn't have a problem with getting a test drive in a car, but bringing one home now or having one over a weekend or something, there may be a requirement for your age or insurance policy or a certain amount of experience level when driving. Have you recently passed on your R driver? What is it over here? L learners and then N driver. Sorry, I was thinking of Australia and New Zealand, where it's R driver. There's a lot of you watching today. It really is a very busy day. I thought you'd all be off tearing your car shows and F1s and all that stuff. Don't forget to subscribe if you've never been here before. And if you can support the channel in some way, like PayPal or Patreon or anything, whatever donation you can give us, it'd be brilliant to have you on board as a donator, because this channel is completely unfunded. And I mean that. I mean, I don't get car companies money or anything like that. Nothing ever happens. So that's why I'm so forthright when it comes to cars. Anyway, Cliff, do you think that Irish car insurance prices will go down anytime soon? I'm getting a quoted €2,400 for a 1.4 Corolla hatch as a 17-year-old. Now, in fairness, do you know what, Cliff? As a 17-year-old, I paid £2,500 for my first insurance, which would be €3,200. Thereabouts is what I paid for my first insurance. So realistically, you are getting a bargain for the two. And mine was a 1.3 litre Datsun Nissan Sunny. Was it a Sunny? Cherry. Sorry, Datsun Nissan Cherry. That was my first car, and I was just turned 17. Just got a provisional license, and I drove it home from the dealership. And I don't even think I don't think it had insurance or anything. I had nothing. I just drove it home and then got insurance. And it was Quinn Direct at the time that insured me. I still remember that. They were around at the time. They were the cheapest one by far. It would have cost me about £5,000 anywhere else. And that was just me. That wasn't on someone else's policy. It was just me to get insurance. So insurance, no. Insurance company is they all get together and have their little meetings and decide to rip off the general public, and there's not a thing you can do about it, really. Our politicians are, well, they're useless. Useless is the best word for them. There's not a single one of them, apart from Pierce, the guy from Sinn Féin, who seems to be anyway useful, but unfortunately he's from Sinn Féin, so I can't really, you can only do so much there. A lot of work to do, but he seems pretty good. But €2,400, it sounds like a lot of money, but in actual fact, I paid more than that as my first insurance, and that was when I was 17, and I'm an old man now, so insurance has been very expensive for 17-year-olds forever. Adrian Max is 40 kilowatts Zoe, good buy if you can get one model. It's not a great buy, Adrian. It's not a great car. As an electric car, it's okay, but for that money, can you imagine how cheap a Zoe would be if you whipped out the battery and put in a 1 litre petrol engine into it? Just saying. How much is a Megane? How much is a Clio? How much is a Clio? A 1 litre petrol Clio. How much is that? And how much is a Zoe? Because the 1 litre petrol Clio will have a much more modern interior in it. I'm telling you now. Wind turbines. What was that in relation to? Wind turbines. Sorry, you're answering my question. Wind turbines, you're right. Open cast mind. Ocean Froggy, what's your view on the forecourt reps selling plug-in hybrids to environmentally conscious customers, not tree huggers who inquire about electric? It's because what they have in stock, it's wrong. I think if you can make a good if you make a PHEV work as a proper electric car, if you're driving to work and you're using electric to get all the way there, you're plugging it in and you're driving all the way home, you should just have an electric car. Just buy an electric car. You see, they don't have stocks of electric car. Not enough batteries. Not enough of a take up in the market. I mean, the market's not burgeoning here. We're all talking about electric, but we're not buying it. We're not buying them. They're talking about being sold out, but they didn't have many to begin with. So it's not big numbers. So it's very hard to say. You look at the market, currently it's still up around 75 to 80% diesel. And then you have petrol, then you have PHEVs, then you have electrics, then you have all these other ones that are mixing into the whole thing. But realistically, it's still diesel's still the king of the market. So how do you order for next year? Where's it going to be next year? But anyway, really, if you're driving home in a PHEV, when you went to go and talk about electric, you bought the wrong car. You didn't do your research properly. You're not listening to... See the bring back knobs? Knobs are coming back. I know what I'm talking about, right? That's... Get the car you need. You gotta go and look for the car you need. What is your mileage per year? What kind of journeys do you regularly do? PHEVs, hardly anyone charges the bloody thing. They just run them as a hybrid every day. So just buy a bloody hybrid then. Don't buy PHEV. Brian O'Donnell says, there's a company I got info about as I get updates on planning in the area of Cork about a possible solar panels, 22,000 panels to generate electricity in Cork. That's not very many, to be honest. 22,000 panels is acreage is what matters, is flat surface area. Now I see in Spain, I seen in Portugal as well, there's an airport car park in Portugal. It might be Lisbon Airport. It might be the other airport. I can't think what it is now. But anyway, whatever airport it is, there's a car park they have there, because what they do in Spain in long-term car parks is they put roofs over them, because the sun will just bleach the colour of a car if it stands still long enough, right? Between rain and sun and UV light, it just bleaches it. So they put roofs over the top of all the cars. They've been there for years and years and years. Now what they do is they put solar panels on top of those roofs. Brilliant idea. Acres of roofs should be covered in solar panels. We should have solar panels everywhere, on every house. Every new house is built now has to have solar panels on the roof. But we should all have them. We should just install them. Not us. We should get a massive grant from the government. Just put millions into it. And we should all have solar panels on our house. And that would solve a huge amount of prices. But you know what? That would interfere with ESB. And the old ESB network would lose money. And God forbid they should lose money, because they're leaking their stuff into canals all over the place. And, it wouldn't be worked. They'd have to shut down their peat fire boss. The peat fire would have to go out the way. You couldn't generate electricity. You couldn't burn up any more bog people or anything, Anyway, Patrick Sullivan. Hi, Bob Flavin. It lights up in yellow. That's really good. Anyway, I'm planning on driving the length of the Wild Atlantic Way in autumn in a hired car. Good lad. Should I increase my budget to avoid the Toyota Auris or Opel Astra? Just I wouldn't wish an Opel Astra on anybody, to be honest with you. Auris is okay. Astra's okay. If you can get out of whatever, like there's no guarantee. That's the size of a car. You could end up in anything, right? But you could end up in a Golf or something, right? Order an Opel Astra to Golf. Generally, car companies put up a list of cars that are available for them, but in actual fact, it's whatever they have on site at a time. They put up stuff that you understand from the country you're in. So they tend to put up American, this is a sedan car, and you end up in a hatchback, right? If you can just mind your mileage, right? Because the Wild Atlantic Way, it sounds like a good idea when you're driving it, and then you suddenly find out there's all these lefts and rights and turns and twists and turns, little villages to go into and stuff, and it turns out to be a lot further than you think it is. So bear that in mind, that it's a lot further than you think you can. But no, if it's a Toyota Auris, get an automatic, trundle down. The car is the least thing you want on the Wild Atlantic Way, to be honest with you, because it's a viewing place, a place you pull over and view. Just make sure it's big enough to carry all your crap. That's what you want. Charles Costa. Hello, Bob. How are you doing, mate? I'm fine. I'm a bit late for our Sunday meeting. Good to be here with you guys. Good man, Charles. I'm glad to have you aboard. A good Sunday for everyone. I hope the weather is down for a bit better. Our rainy summer here in Finland. It is grey here today, but it was sunny here this morning. John Cam Duff says, why are people paying 30k for a Mercedes A180 when it's basically a Renault Megane 1.5 diesel engines? Because people... there's a great phrase to remember. A fool and his money is easily parted. That's how that works. The same engine they use in a Dacia Duster, which is true. They use the same engine, Dacia Duster. Nissan used that engine. Renault used that engine. Mercedes used that engine. Who else did they sell that engine to someone else, though? Someone else uses that engine. Is BMW sticking that engine into something as well? Anyway, maybe. Bob, you have mentioned that the Camry Hybrid is the best car you've driven. No, I didn't say that. I said it's one of the best cars you've driven this year. It's not. I won't say it's the best. I hate saying it's the best because there's so many other cars that I've forgotten about that I need to go back through a pile of notes to see which one I was looking at. But anyway, it's one of the best cars driven this year. Since it has the same powertrain as the RAV4, would that apply to the hybrid RAV? You saw something in the Camry. They're totally different cars. The power plant of a car has nothing to do with the way the car drives. It's completely different drive in the RAV4. I'm not going to give it away because the RAV4 video out tomorrow, but there's a completely different drive in the RAV4. It's the same engine and hybrid system underneath, but the feeling and the way the car handles, the interior condition, the sat-nav, everything, it's all different. The whole lot feels like a totally different car. So no, one Toyota is never the same as the other. Eisted says, down Bob, it's 2 a.m. here in New Zealand. I need to sleep, stop being interested. I'm sorry. I'm terrible sorry. Sweet dreams. Enjoy. Go sleep now. Have a good time. Right, continue. John says, the issue I have is with Toyotas and Hondas is their dashboard and controls are never as well integrated as European cars. It's still 5 different colour displays and a set of controls instead of just one. Particularly Honda, in fairness. Toyota I've gotten kind of used to. I'm okay with that. The best infotainment system on the market, bar none, right now, is in a Kia. That Kia e-Soul infotainment system, the 3 little screens across it, absolutely brilliant. Brilliant yoke. Works perfectly. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, the whole lot's all built in. Really good. Toyota, Honda, Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi do the worst infotainment systems. Probably because they were all kind of Japanese entertainment systems, including Renault. I know Renault's a French brand, but actually they buy in that system. So they would make sort of the worst interfaces. Now, that's been replaced sort of with Apple CarPlay. Now, Toyota still doesn't have Apple CarPlay, but it's been replaced kind of. And yet, Kia's infotainment system works 100% of the time. Brilliant thing. Really enjoyed that system. That's one of the best this year, for sure. Not the best. One of the best. Istat says, in America, at least, you could do the vehicle in finance. The vehicle has a lien, so they have the right to satisfaction of the cent owed. But the vehicle itself is very definitely owned by the individual. That's very hard to read, but I think I understand what you mean. We have something similar. So when you get to about 50% of the ownership of the car, it's very difficult to repossess a car here in Ireland. So if a car is 10 grand and you financed 5 grand, the car is not yours until you've paid the last payment. But actually, if you got 2.5 grand paid of your finance, they can't repossess it either because you own more than half of the car. So it can be a little bit different here as well. I know the American sense of that is that when you buy a car, you buy into the car is yours. They have to come up with all sorts of reasons to repossess, but they can still repossess. Don't forget, there's a whole TV shows about repossessing cars in America. Bob, is LED better than halogen main lights? Yes, 100% yes. LED technology consumes less power, it's whiter, it's brighter, it has more control over it. Now, the drawback is, if something goes wrong with an LED bulb, it's usually changed the whole bloody headlamp, right? It depends on whether it's LED, it's a bulb in the back, or it's an LED system, a closed system inside the electric system. But it can be quite expensive when the bulbs go, but they very rarely go. It's not like the old H4 or H7 stuff is stuck in the back of the lights, but definitely 100% better than halogen at all times. You'll spend less over time of the car changing any bulbs, and you'll see better at night time. You come home less tired, everything. It's all better. What are your thoughts on regular versus premium petrol diesel? They're the same. Forget about it. Don't pay more. You buy the cheapest, crappiest diesel you can find. It'll run your car just fine. If it's dirty, the car will break down. That's straightforward, right? It's a marketing trick, basically, kind of. So all petrol and diesel are cut with chemicals, right? So they cut it to bring up the NOx or bring down the CO2. It's all kinds of crap, right? Diesel is not just straight old diesel like it used to be. Now it's clean diesel and all that. But there's no... So in petrol you pay for more octane. So you can get 95 RON, you can get 97 RON, you can actually get higher RON than that as well, which is more octane. So it's presumably the explosions are better when there's more octane, right? But actually your car doesn't give a continental what exactly is happening under the bonnet. As long as there is explosions, you will definitely not notice it. The ESSO idea or the Apple Green idea, go further with cleaner, no you won't. You will not. You will go further. Just empty your boot. Tell your kids to walk to school. You'll go further. That's how that works, right? We don't. In essence, we do have. There is premium. I won't say premium fuels, but you can buy 97 RON and you can buy clean diesels or longer range diesel stuff. They were all over the years, but most of them died out because nobody wants to spend any more on fuel than they already do. So they don't. Taras says we don't really have premium fuels in Ireland. The only difference here is that different petrol stations brands use different amount of cleaners in the fuel. So they are. So the amount of chemicals and additives in your diesel and petrol is different from place to place. Connor Crowley, Bob, hybrids. Are they worth all the hype surrounding them? I'm not ready to move to fully EV, but will consider a hybrid for 2020 when they hope to change my 171 Golf. So what's the whole? What's the real question behind that, Connor? Is you're not ready for full electric, and I don't blame you. It's quite a step to make. If you've never done it before, you're not ready for it, and you're not sure about it. It's a big jump to get to electric, and for the first month or two of ownership, you're going to figure out about range, how long it's going to take to charge to get there. You know, my e-Soul is charging out there right now. I had 250 kilometers range when I plugged it in. If you look at a little range map, it tells me that I can get basically anywhere in Ireland for 250 kilometers, more or less. The problem is when I get there, I'm going to be charging for 5 hours before I can come back. So I don't blame you. about not wanting to change over yet. Hybrids are very good. The stuff I've tested this year has been brilliant. The Camry has got me 65 miles to the gallon. Old money, 5.3 litres per 100 kilometres, 6.3, somewhere in that region. RAV4 did 6.3 as well. The CRV, Sinead McCann tells me 6.2 she was getting, and less than that. So they do pretty good fuel economy, and it means that you can drive to the next petrol station and just put more petrol in and keep going until you get used to pressing the EV button and doing that stuff. You know, that's an easy step to make. The one I can definitely recommend is the Toyota Camry and the current Corolla. Buy a Corolla hatchback with white and a black roof. Looks gorgeous. They're pretty cars. The Toyota do really good EVs. Don't buy a PHEV. Okay? Don't. I really want to get rid of the PHEV out of everybody's mind because they're useless. They're useless because the range, the 50 kilometers, is not enough to do for anything useful other than driving to work to plug it in and then plug it out and then drive home, plug it in again. Just buy an electric car. Buy a hybrid or buy an electric if you want to make that kind of a change. Paul Masters is answering someone else's question. Hold on. If you put an at in front of somebody's name, you'll answer their question and I won't read it out. So not everyone gets to see those answers. Charles Costa, I will never go back to a car with halogen lights. They are ugly, not bright enough, and don't last a year. There you go. Halogen. All the lights in my house even are all those swirly lights. You know, the ones you buy, they're a little bit more expensive, but they last for years. I had a bulb here that last me a good 10 years easily, so it's totally possible. But yeah, LED in a car. There's a couple of companies that do these funny looking plug-in LED yokes. Don't buy them off China. I turned down, there's a whole heap of them sent here at one point and I threw them in the bin. They were useless yokes. These you plug them in, you convert your lights into LED. No, stop, don't, get it done properly. Actually, they used to build Nissan Sunny and Cherry in Vos, Greece back in the day. That's correct. Mine was a Greek one as well. Actually, it was a good car. Really enjoyed that. So yeah, have you used Irish pounds before? We had our own Irish pounds were here. Punt, it was called. We used to call it Irish pounds, but £20, 20 quid was the word we used. And it was, I tell you, when you had £100 in your pocket in the 80s and 90s, I tell you, it lasted a long time. It lasted a long time. You put €100 in your pocket today, you could get a week, like with that cash in your pocket. You know, it was shopping and everything's gone up in price. You were ripped off. To change over to euro was a rip off in this country. I worked in a bar when we changed over from pounds to euro, and I remember all that rounding up and all those price changes. Just in a couple of weeks, just before we changed, they rounded up all the prices so the euro would convert over. So a pint went from, say, £2.99 went to £3.99 in that 2 week period, and then it changed over. And in the confusion, the price of a pint went through the roof in euro. You're ripped off now by euros. Anyway, how likely is it that after the budget, diesel will be no longer cheaper than petrol? Inspiron 55 asked. That is a very good question and is completely possible. You look at Northern Ireland and England right now. I was in Liverpool a couple of weeks ago and I noticed all the petrol stations in Liverpool, the price of petrol and diesel is the same. And I mean to the pence. Same in Northern Ireland. I passed through Northern. I was going to Donegal a couple of weeks back and passed through, happened to cross the border into Northern Ireland without noticing it, by the way. Before you put up a wall between the two of us, I didn't even notice I crossed the border. But I passed by a petrol station again. Petrol and diesel the same price. I think it will go the same here. The problem is, see, if they want to incentivize people out of diesel cars, diesel is still a lot cheaper than petrol at the pumps. And currently, companies claim back the VAT off diesel, but only diesel. You can't claim it off petrol. So they need to equalise that. So the only way to equalise that is to make two prices the same at the pump and to take away the VAT incentive off diesel and put it onto petrol, or take it away completely off both fuels. Adrian, is that really your name, or you just put that twice? So good to name them twice. Just imagine, Bob, the electricity bill where I work as supplier for Nissan is £5,000 a day. I bet most people have no idea about the actual cost of a car. Correct. Diesel electricity will definitely go up in price. The more electric cars that hit the market, the higher the price of electricity will become. Supply and demand, folks, supply and demand. Don't write off your petrol and diesel car just yet. I wouldn't do it anyway. And I haven't. In fairness, I have a 13-year-old 1.6 litre Seat Leon, sits outside my door, and it's very, very nice. And I have no intention of getting rid of it just yet. Unless somebody offers me the right money. How much are you willing to offer me for a 2006 Seat Leon? Slight damage on the front. And nearly had 2 kids birthed in it. No, still trying to skip forward there. Bob, will you do a review on a new Skoda Superb? Just launched, Viking Raiders. Literally, I've been watching some of the Skoda people talk about it on an overseas trip. I don't think any Irish people, Skoda Ireland did not send anybody on the trip as far as I know. It is a refresh, but there's a Superb Scout coming out, won't come to Ireland. So whenever it reaches here, whenever it comes out, it'll be later on this year, I'll have a spin in the Irish model, see what that looks like. It's not selling that well anymore. It was a good car, but not selling that well. Bob, what's your opinion on aftermarket smart add-ons like nano spray paint and rims protection with Windows UV protection, tinted foil, and your smart aftermarket models according to you? It depends how much they cost and what the effect is going to be. Like, you could use UV tint on the windows. That's good because it'll protect the interior of the car from sun, but really that only affects countries where the car is consistently in sun. This country in Ireland, very little. I mean, the amount of sun that actually hits us here in this country is so small. It's not really worth worrying about. But if you want, you could do rim coating, which would be no harm. That does protect the rims from blistering, which often happens to car rims because they get very hot and they're constantly in muck and dirt and filth as they drive down the road. So they do get fairly damaged in time, but it depends on the price of it. If it's going to be a couple of grand, nope, forget about it. You're never going to see that back in the car. It's how much it's going to be worth you on the way out. Is sparkly, shiny new alloys going to be worth $2,000 on the way out of the car when you're selling it? Probably not. Yeah, bring back knobs. I love it, but I already have the Healy Ray. See, bring back knobs. That's what I want. I want Jackie Healy Ray to write his name there. Or is he dead? Maybe he's dead. Maybe the other lad, whatever his name is. One of the Healy Rays to come and put that there. Bring back knobs and sign it. I'm going to get somebody to sign it for sure. Which is the A-Class GLA? No, that's not A. GLA is a sort of an off-road thing. I don't know, actually. Mercedes have so many models at the moment, I don't know what one is which anymore. More Coffee says, hang on, just on that thought. I've nearly got 2-hour-old coffee now, and it's lovely. Even slightly cold, it's good. Did you guys see the Norwegian and 2 other guys who drove the 2781 kilometers in 24 hours in a Tesla Model 3, a new distance record for EV in 24 hours? I did not see that, but I think I know who you're talking about. Bjorn, that's what you're talking about. So I'm not really in favour of all these distance things, or I'm not in favour of journalists getting a hold of an electric car and going, let's see how far I can drive. Oh, and they drive off down a motorway and they run out of electricity and they put more in and they drive on. I think it's wrong. I've never done that in a petrol or diesel car. I've never got into a diesel car and went, let's see how far I can drive. I don't really. I just drive around and see how it makes me feel. So I like Model 3. I like Teslas. I like what he's doing. I like what Tesla are doing in general. I like kind of the ideas, the kind of zany ideas that make them real. I like that idea, but I'd rather they just kind of come up with a car that's good to drive, good to own, and just shut up about it. Like, sell the car. Make enough of them. That's the problem. Now, what we haven't seen from Tesla yet is what happens when a Tesla breaks down. What happens when there's warranty? What happens when there's issues with the car that can't be fixed over the wire? You know, there's none of that stuff that dealerships deal with right now, technicians. So there's that part of it too. But like, it's interesting to see that it can go 2,781. But like, you know, you really have to be persistent with the outcharge and stuff. And you need to stop and wait and think. And, you know, there's all sorts of stuff goes on with electric cars that you don't have to worry about with petrol and diesel. I could drive 2,781 in a diesel car with 2 tanks of fuel, and that would be stopping for about 20 minutes in that whole time. And I bet you I could do it quicker than 24 hours. By a long way quicker. By the way, charging a Tesla at a supercharger costs you money. So just bear that in mind. Everybody thinks that's free. It isn't free. I think it's 38 cents per kilowatt. It can be quite expensive to fill a Model S. John Carn Duff says, I think BMW used Renault 1.5 DCI for a while, but then they have that's right, they did. BMW put it into the 2 Series Active Tour, the 1.5 DCI. And then they put Peugeot engines into Minis as well. You're dead right, John. Well done. Well spotted. The Japanese seem to have a difficulty with infotainment system. They do because they don't use it. They put on their Bluetooth and they stream their music and that's all. That's it. They don't listen to radio every once in a while. So it's very basic. Don't forget it works. The Japanese ones, the Renault ones, they all work. They never break. The BMW one breaks. It's glitchy. It kind of gets weird. Volkswagen one started to glitch out me here one day as well. I turned on the car and the screen didn't come on at all. Just sat there looking at me, the Volkswagen logo on it. You know, so things happen. A lot of tech means a lot more things can be broken. Paul O'Connor says, Bob, your constituency is great. Consistency. Good God, I can't read, Paul. I'm sorry. Your consistency is great. I'm doing a small valet while listening to the Canton infotainment systems. That's the way to do it. Small valet is always good. Use Clay Bar there. Does a good old job at helping you with the valet on the outside of the car. Shell V-Power is the classic, yeah. Brian O'Donnell, can you have LED bulbs in a vehicle for NCT even if it came with halogen bulbs? Yes, you can. As long as they're level. You just get them leveled up. You just go and get them straightened out. Dealerships look after that for you if you want. Or just, if you're replacing like for likes, if you're pulling a bulb out from the back and putting a bulb in from the back, and as long as you don't put a whole heap of pressure and start moving things around, there should be no reason why that goes off level. Usually, what an NCT is looking for is an inconsistency. So if the right hand bulb is this height, the left hand bulb should be that height, and there should be no difference between the two. So if this one's down a bit, that's how you fail an NCT, and that's usually down to the suspension on that side of the car rather than the lights. So it's usually something else entirely. But you can change whatever you want for NCT. Now, there is suspension things, alterations and big exhaust and stuff that can't be left on because they'll fail because of CO2 emissions or volume emissions. Different story. Anders Nielsen, the new Honda hybrids are brilliant. Efficiently, yes, definitely. But the look of some of the Hondas, their looks and their infotainment system is very frustrating at times. Skip the hybrid, go full electric. You will regret it. Skip the hybrids, go full electric. Well, you won't regret it. You won't. If not everybody wants to go electric. Not everybody wants an iPhone 10. That's an iPhone 6s. Not everybody wants an iPhone 10. And the reason I still have it is because there's a big hole in the bottom there that allows me to plug things in, like my headphones. And there's another hole here that allows me to plug things in, like my drone. You know, so that's, some people don't want to make that big jump, and it is a big jump to go from petrol or diesel that you know and love intimately to jump it straight into electric that you don't know. So, you know, no harm in doing a little skip and jump across the way. 5-6 years, you know, if you own a car for 3 years on PCP and trade it in at the end on an electric car, not going to make a whole lot of difference in 3 years. Operator Hoot, that's a good name. I decided to get an EV. Congratulations. Can you do a video on a different grants, or is it a bit off your well-tarmacadam path? It's not really, but the grants are sorted out by dealerships, and they're not something, because the grants are malleable, and that's probably a good word for it, because the grant goes up and down. It can be taken away at any point and put back on at any point. There isn't a whole lot to do a video on. There's no meat to that bone. You know what I mean? There's no. You kind of go after and go, that's the grant. This is how you get it. This is the conditions belong to that. The conditions are the same for everybody. You'll get between 5 and 10 grand of a grant off the car. The price that is quoted to you in the dealership will be the one without the grant already on, or with the grant already taken off it. So that car I have out to the door is 37.5 grand, but that's with the grants already paid. So you have to pay the full amount, they grant you back the rest. Then they grant you 600 quid off the installation of an EV box, which is the box on your wall. And it's about €1,200 for that, for the car to go in. So you're going to pay about 600 quid for a charger, a home charger. That's the end of your grant. You're done. So there wouldn't be a video in it really, unless there was something, you know, unless you're going after somebody, you know, trying to do harm. You could do a video then, I suppose. My God, there are so many of you watching now. Click the like button. Thanks very much. Be great if you could. But besides that, you can support this channel in multiple ways, including Bring Back Knobs t-shirt if you want to buy one of them, or you can buy a hoodie, or you can buy something off Amazon, or you can support the channel directly with PayPal, Patreon, or Super Chat right here. So I'd appreciate any of those things, because it does keep the channel free and keeps me fed, which is good as well. Where were we? Will we see the day that an electric car will do 1,000 kilometers of full charge regardless of how it's driven? No, not right now. We might see. I'm not saying we won't see it, but the next 5 or 6 years, I don't think so. They're struggling right now to reach 600 kilometers. That's the holy grail, because that's about as far as a petrol car will go. You fill a car, an ordinary 1.6, 1.4 petrol with car, you fill it up, you drive on 600-700 kilometers, you're going to run out of petrol. So if you can make that, you'd have enough. That's enough. After that, you don't need any more electricity. Joe Lyons says more coffee would be a proper comparison. Sorry, missed. Some people are answering various questions there. Bob, would you recommend getting a new car and sticking it for as long as possible, or switch cars every 4 to 6 years before the big fixing bills are? I have a car for 13 years and I've never had a big fixing bill on it. I don't know where you get the idea those things come. You can do almost all of the servicing yourself on a car, and after the warranty ends, you can do whatever you want to the car, and there's nothing they're going to say to you one way or the other. So up until in the 3 years or 7 years or 5 years or whatever the warranty is in your car, on that bit, then you have to obey to keep the warranty going. You have to keep going back to the dealership to get the warranty fixed. So, but if you want to fix it, if you buy a second-hand car, you bought my 13-year-old car, I guarantee you that car of mine would be on the road in another 13 years. It's still going to be going. As long as no one crashes it, it'll be fine. If anyone even remotely looks after it like I've looked after the thing, it'll keep going forever. There's no reason why it should break. Old cars aren't bad just because they're old. Big fixing bills are very rare. But if you don't look after a car at all, and one day you turn the key and a whole heap of lights come on the dashboard, that's your fault for not looking after the car, not the car's fault. It's done what it can to keep going for as long as it can, but eventually it's just going to break down. But the most environmental thing you can do for a car is to keep it on the road for as long as possible, to keep it forever. Buy once and never buy again. Environmentally, that's the sound thing to do, because you never generate any more waste. You never require a car company to make more plastics or more metals and more nothing. You have made your environmental choice and it's yours forever. Go over to France and tell me how many new cars you see on the road. It's always a good trick, because they keep their old cars forever. Daz Senna says hi from Northern Ireland. Good man, north of Ireland. Good lad. You're up the road there, bye. Joe Lyons, that is real life test, not these silly ones. Sorry, Bob, you're new to the channel. Good man. What do you think of Toyota Prius Plus? I don't. I try not to. It's a horrible car, but generally speaking, it's the biggest of the Toyotas, so it's like 6 seats or 7 seats or something like that. It's the same drivetrain as a Toyota Prius underneath. It's not a great car to drive. It's not really that roomy and never really sold well here. But if you need a bit of extra space, need something similar to a van, and you don't want a van style car, then that's the one you're talking about. I look like an angel on the screen. I've suddenly blown out all white around the edge because the sun is just going out behind me, so it'll get sorted eventually. I'm sure the white balance will go back to normal and stop looking like a bleeding angel. I've died and gone to heaven. Ocean Froggy says, cheers Bob, another entertaining show. When are you testing Model 3? Good luck. No idea. Whenever Tesla get around to actually bringing one to Ireland or the UK. I will have Model S soon, and BMW X7 is next week, I think. Range Rover Evoque is next week as well. 2 cars next week, as well as going to Nice to test the Ford Focus ST, and then I think after that's Model S, and then X isn't far behind it again. So there's a good few electric cars still to come in the next few weeks. Charles Costa says, I can drive 1,340 kilometers, 835 miles, in my BMW 220 diesel with a full tank. You see, it's very hard to write that kind of mileage off just from one tank. Squirt and go. And when Charles there runs out of at 1,339 kilometers, reaches a petrol station, he goes until it fills up again, and then he just drives off and does another 1,340 kilometers every 20 minutes. Easy. Tesla has serious parts distribution issues for repairs and service. Skip forward, sorry again. Tesla has serious parts distribution issues for repairs and service. Should be resolved in the next few months from a new distribution center they just finished building. It's a problem for Tesla. They've invented everything and they're going forward, but they're going forward at a sort of a slower pace than they should be. So it's like there's one man at the top who's a brilliant marketeer, and then everyone else has to try and figure out how the car industry works. Because they're technical people. They're technically able to do all the software and stuff. And I still admire the Tesla software that works. It works so well. They do such a good user interface. I love when you set a sat nav for somewhere and it's beyond the range of the car and it just diverts you by a supercharger. That's just, doesn't ask, doesn't do anything, just, there you go. There's a supercharger. You're going that way. You have to, because you're not going to make it in one go. Charles says he has a Euro 6.2 engine. 90% of the NOx is cleaned by the AdBlue. Correct. Diesel and petrol engines currently, the 6.2 model engines and the newer ones that are coming again are even cleaner again. Mazda are gambling on the fact that they don't have an electric car. They're not going to bother. Mild hybrids as far as they're going to go, according to what they said. Incentivize hybrids to get a couple of people out of fossil fuel cars only until electric cars are infrastructure ready. No, I don't agree with incentives. When you incentivize people, the incentive has to continue. And I'll tell you what, here's a good example for how incentives don't work, right? So supposing I hire you as a sales rep and I tell you, listen, I'm going to give you 20 grand a year as a sales rep. I'm going to give you 10% of commission. So everything you sell, you're going to get 10% of that. That's great. But I'm going to give you an expense account as well. And here's a credit card. And there's €1,000 a month you can put on expenses. Now, here's how that works. You take that as a salesperson to think that you are now getting an extra 12 grand a year because your expenses are €1,000 a month. You're going to kill yourself to spend that €1,000 extra a month. Whether you spend it on Tesco's or you spend it on dinners or nights out or whatever it is, and you're going to claim it all. So I just started paying you €32,000 a year plus commission. Because I said that. That's the incentive. That's how the incentive works. So I'm not a big fan of that sort of incentive because people take advantage of it. So when you say there's an incentive for hybrids, you'll find businesses will buy into hybrid in great numbers. And then all of a sudden everybody's hybrid on the road and the incentive didn't work. It cost the taxpayer thousands, if not millions. And the taxpayer is already spending thousands and millions on electric cars. So be very careful what you wish for. Sometimes you'll get them. Gonads 1259 says anyone driving any car for more than 2 hours without a break is a danger to other road users. That's a lie. Don't be silly. Don't be making stupid remarks about things you don't quite get. Nobody, look, you drive until you're tired, then you take a break, you get a coffee, you drive on. I have driven for hours and nothing happened. Nothing. I got to the other end, I got out of the car, stretched my legs, it was fine. That's it, right? It's totally possible. Everybody's different. Health and safety rules the whole wide world. And every time you want to do something, somebody goes, that might be dangerous. We'll have to bring in a rule about that now. We can't be doing that. Oh, God, no, that'd be wrong. Just wrong. I've got to try and adjust the white balance. Because you see, the t-shirt's white and the background's kind of white and everything's gone white now. Anyway, most of you are listening rather than watching, so that's all right. Nobody's a danger in the car if you drive for more than 2 hours at a time. You're only a danger if you're an idiot and don't know how to drive. That's how people become a danger. And anyway, in 5 years' time, there'll be so many automated cars on the road, you won't be allowed to drive. So you can go sleep in the back of it. Lee Wood says, Bob, my car failed an NCT with LED bulbs previously due to there not being a headlight washer in place. Never heard of that one, Lee Wood. That would be the first one, unless the headlight washer was already there and it was missing. You know, if there's a hole where there should be an LED, or where a washer should be there. An NCT can only test what's in front of it. That's it. So the NCT can only test if something has there. If something has been removed and it's no longer there, it can't be tested unless there's a hole where it used to be. I have never heard of a car failing in the NCT because it hasn't got head washers. I mean, 99% of the cars I have don't have washers on them and they have LED lights. Just saying, yo. Joe Lyons, don't let the production of the cars or the power used to be talked about. They have no carbon, double standards. Yes, you're right, Joe. You're absolutely right. The production of electric cars and the production of the electricity all have a CO2 emission standard to them, a massive amount, and particularly in Ireland, because we still do have peat-fired electric stations here in Ireland. That are hugely polluting. So, like, we can't have it both ways. We can't be talking about lowering our CO2 emissions when we're putting more pressure on a peat-fired electric power station to give us more electricity. It doesn't make any sense. Have you driven the latest Suzuki Swift? I have, yes, and it's very good. It has a petrol tank the size of a thimble, and it eats it as fast as it possibly can. But other than that, it's actually a pretty good car. Adrian Max says, Bob, EV question. I'm going back up here. I'm coming back. Back up now a second. There's the production of the ME. One day YouTube will ring me up and go, do you know that scrolling problem? We fixed that. Adrian Max says, Bob, EV questions and videos seem to be very popular on your site. Yes, they are. Do you think people are very interested in moving to zero tailpipe vehicles? People are interested in saving money. People don't care about the environment. People don't care about CO2. There's a fraction of the people out there who bought an electric car because of CO2. The majority of people bought an electric car because they think it's the right thing to do, or because they had a crap load of money to do it with in the first place, because they're expensive. So people are moving to zero tailpipes because they see a saving in money. And yes, you can. Currently, you can charge your car on the street for free, which is why I see a white Hyundai Ioniq every single day plugged into the train station up the road from here. That car plugs in every single day. The fast charge station in Portlaoise here has 6, 7, 8, 9 cars sitting at it almost all the time when people can find it because it's moved. Midway has electric charge points full all the time, and the reason for this is because people are not charging at home. And I have a home charger. I'm charging my car at home here. So people think that they're saving money. That's all going to change when you have no other way of charging your car. Electric cars, and the electricity starts to rise in price. What do you do then? What do you fix then, huh? Anyway, so people aren't making an environmental choice per se. They're really making a financial choice, and that's what they see at the moment. But electric cars are really expensive. I'm telling you, 1 litre petrol, 1.5 litre petrols, those little petrol engine cars are going to come into their own in a few years' time, and you'll save a packet by having one of them cars instead. Looks like Renault have been listening to Bob. They have knobs for the aircon and new capture. They're bloody better. Anyone goes any more of this talk of what Peugeot did years ago of moving all of the controls into the touchscreen, and I will 100% burn the car to the ground. Well, I won't because it's somebody else's car, but it's a terrible thing. Touchscreens will get someone killed. They are dangerous, they are stupid, and they don't work most of the time. Putting your stuff into a touchscreen that is non-haptic. Look at the Audi touchscreen. For a touchscreen that works really well, in that you look down, you see it, and then you can feel the haptic feedback from it as you use the buttons properly. You can slide your finger, all kinds of things. The Peugeot one puts it right out in front of you. There's no idea what you're touching, whether you're able to touch the right button, the wrong button. You're stabbing away and need to see a little touchscreen. It's stupid and it's dangerous, and someone is going to wrap someone else around the neck with it. Pennywise says, a big fixing deal for me means new 4x4, tyres, brake pads, disc, timing belt, water pump, etc. Usually at that moment it comes down to about 20-25% of the total current market car cost. I have never changed all them things at once, I have to say. You change the brake pads, you wouldn't change the disc at the same time unless the disc need changed. If the disc need changing disc and pads together. The tyres, well, they had to change every 3 years or so anyway, 3-4 years. So that's called a stress purchase. You only do it when they wear out. That's it. Water pump, you change that if you change the timing belt. You never change the water pump. There's something wrong with it. Like if you're changing the timing belt, you change the pump anyway, and you don't even have to do it then. It's just wise while you have the pump off, change it anyway, just while you're there. So like keeping a car on the road is a lot cheaper than buying a brand new car. 100%. Whoop. 101 says, love the show, Bob. Have a 2017 Octavia RS coming to the end of a PCP deal. New RS, new Superb Sportline, new Karoq Sportsline, or stick with what I have. Any other recommendations taken? Stick with what you got at the moment. Hold fire. So many new cars coming in 2020. Electric cars, hybrid cars, PHEVs, RSs, sport models, fast cars. 2020 is going to be the year that really will show us what way the car industry is going to land. If you buy in for another 3 years into a Karoq Sportsline or Superb Sportline or whatever it is, you're buying in at the tail end of a market. Another market is starting to open up and you're buying into the end of that. So I would hold on to what you got until mid-March 2020. Then you'll see what's going to happen, what's coming on the road. There's so much happening in the car market right now. Be very careful what you jump at it. John says, I'll replace my 15-year-old diesel Volvo S40 next year, by which point I'll have 150,000 miles on it. I've had it for 3 years apart from fuel, tyres and service, and it'll cost me 20 quid a month. 20 quid a month. There's a saving for you. Still millions of questions coming at me at the moment, and we are well over the 2 hour mark now. It's 4:07, so we'll keep going. We'll answer a few more questions. John says 138 people watching at the moment. That's true. It goes up and down, which is even cooler at the time. It's deadly to have you all here. Honest to God, the Sunday service has grown to such a big thing now. Every year, every week, more than 1,500 people tune in on the day to watch the thing, and then another 2,000 people or so watch it after that again. It's amazing. It's amazing the growth of something that you just do consistently, and it's weird. Everybody, I'm now, I suppose, I meet more people in the street now because of the Sunday service, who remark on the same thing as how do I Google the answers as I go along? Is there someone here feeding me answers? And there genuinely isn't. I literally read a question and then I just come up with an answer from the end of that. And it's brilliant. It's good fun too, though. I love it because it means I can just sit here and go, which is on whatever you're talking about, I can get into as well. Everybody see what I also love as well is the community that is built up around the Sunday service right now. People answer each other's questions. The regulars come in every week and know what I'm going to say to certain questions as well. The same old questions up too, which is fun. Anyway, sorry, let's crack on. Touchscreens in cars are a recipe for disaster. Touchscreens eventually fail when then you're goosed. It'll cost a fortune to replace this going ads. And you're right too, because I remember Citroen a couple of years ago brought out the C3 Picasso, and it had all touchscreens. So touchscreen in the middle, and they also had a digital dash, all digital dashes. And I got an email from a woman. I sorted it out for in fairness, but the woman had a complete failure of all of those screens while driving on a motorway. Obviously, it frightened the crap out of her because she couldn't, not only did she not change the air conditioning, but she didn't know what speed she was doing. She had no clue. Everything was gone. She went to a Citroen dealer. I don't know what one. He replaced the dash over a period of 2 weeks or something. She was without a car. And the same thing happened again to the dash. So she emailed me and I rang Citroen Ireland and they replaced the car, I think, for her. I'm not sure what her result was, but I got an email thanking me and she sent me some free stuff as well in the post. But she was happy with the end result, so she'd never come back to me since. But at the same time, you can imagine what would happen. You're driving on the road, all digital dash, and bang, it all just turns off in the middle of it. Not saying digital dashes are wrong, but touchscreens, keeping things out of touchscreens that you commonly touch or move, like temperature controls, like map buttons, like, you know, pressing physical buttons, is a very different prospect than the dangers behind taking your eyes off the road to touch something on a touchscreen, particularly if you go from one menu to another to see where everything is. Mark Turner Smith says, thoughts on this: manufacturers move to 3-cylinder engines in small cars like VW Polos, not given much of a warm hatch 4-cylinder choice. Really not convinced on the longevity of 3-cylinders. I'm not either. I cannot imagine any of these little tiny 3-cylinder supercharged engines or turbocharged. Some are turbo, some are supercharged. I'm not convinced on their longevity. I know they'll work as a hire car. I know they'll work for the 3 year of PCP. I just don't know in 10 years or 15 years time if you're going to see any Seat Me's or VW Ups on the road or any of these little tiny 3-cylinder engines. I can't imagine a 1 litre Skoda Superb doing 25 years work, you know, for a tiny little engine like that. They're great fun to drive, but I just can't imagine them last that long. The pressure those cars are under is horrendous, particularly when they're accelerating hard. New cars nowadays only designed to last 7 or 8 years to tops or longevity is going to manufacturers thinking. Correct? Sorry, manufacturers, but that's true. There is a shelf life. They have a certain shelf life, which is why PCPs run over 3 years, which is why finance runs over 5 years, which is why cars are refinanced over 5 years. You know, there's a reason why these financial agreements come into place and they happen over those time scales. It's because they will only last that bleeding long anyway. 100% agree on touchscreen UI. The car is stupid, thick and useless, not to mention dangerous. The Model 3 Achilles heel and the reason I won't ever buy one. I'm the same. The only difference would be that on Tesla they seem to have it sorted out in such a way that you set the temperature and then you kind of forget it and you don't really have to worry about it again, but it's always near you. It's always within a push on the screen, so it never completely goes away. You don't need to shuffle through 5 menus to find what you're looking for. It's right there in front of you a lot of the time. Not saying it's right either. I still think physical buttons do a much better job of controlling the temperature inside a car. The amount of people I see in a motor with their heads bobbing up and down looking at their phones when their modern cars have Bluetooth and mirroring technology is ridiculous. Not even Bluetooth. This driving like this in traffic. Do you ever see something like that? And they're looking at this phone in front of them. They're tweeting, sending text messages. Madness! Put the phone down when you're driving. Just get where you're going. And you know what I seen the other day? Actually, a woman coming out of Aldi And as she was leaving the car park of Aldi, she went, yeah, I'll be home in a minute. What are you doing? Why are you phoning? You're just leaving a car park. You're in a car park, parked. Why didn't you make the phone call there? Anyway, that happens a lot. What are your thoughts on hypermilling and similar extreme car behaviour? It doesn't make sense spreading several thousands of whatever currency on a new car and then cheap out in gas mileage. It's true. Hypermilling, whatever you want to call it, extreme behaviour. You're going to be extreme every day you go out. This doesn't make any sense. Like, you're not just going to hypermile every single time you want to go to shopping. Oh my God, I have to do this all the way up. You're mad. You want to just get in the car and go somewhere. That's it. That's what you want, really. Mark Turner Smiths tweeted something and then it suddenly went, why is that guy in there? Anyway, held for review. You've been held for review, Mark. I'm sorry. YouTube went mad there. No, that's that. I have a Polo Blue GT 1.4 TSI, 150 PS. Do a few track days a year. I'm surprised it even survives. Small 4-cylinder cars option now. VW is Polo GTI. Think of Suzuki Swift Sport next at the forgotten warm hatch. Suzuki Swift Sport is definitely a warm hatch. Just the fuel tank is too small. It really is. Jesus, just you get in, you drive for 100 miles and it's empty, you know. And it's not because it's not economical. It's just too small of a fuel tank. Drive you mental. John Carnduff says we build faster charging cars that go further but will always mean huge amounts of electrical demand to charge them. 3 by 27 kilowatt fast chargers use just as much power as an average commercial building. Correct. It's a hell of a lot of power that has to go into them. My God, there's still so many hundreds of questions and it's really like we're 20 minutes over time. But yes, we'll answer another last couple. I've got an 18-year-old 1.4 Megane. An 18-year-old 1.4 Megane, or your 18-year-olds. Second car for work or winter, so I don't ruin my modified VW Caddy. That old Megane cost me nothing more than a bi-yearly service consumables, cheap, cheerful. There you go. You see, now look, there's test. Look at Andy there. Be like Andy, 18-year-old 1.4 Megane, and he's still keeping it on the road and servicing it. What's your personal favourite EV you've driven so far? It's outside the door, the Kia e-Soul, definitely. I have not driven a Model 3. I'm not expecting it to drive very well, but it does. I've sat in it and I've played with it and I've messed with it. I had a sneaky drive, unofficial we'll call it, drive of a Model 3, and it's not bad. It doesn't drive like a car still though. They still need to work on the old performance of the car end of it, but it's fine and the mileage is good and how far it'll go. I still think the Kia e-Soul outside the door is the nicest one that I've driven so far. Just it looks good. I like the styling. Not everyone will, but I like the styling. I like kind of curious, weird cars. Always good to me. Something different rather than those normal 3-box saloon or, you know, fridges that you see going up and down the road there regularly that look like a big old boring 3-cylinder, 5-cylinder, whatever it is, diesel thing that's come out that cost too much money. Anyway, this has been a brilliant day. Huge amount of people have come to the channel today to watch our little Sunday service. It's been such fun to have you all here doing what it is that you do, which is just be lovely subscribers. If you can support this channel in some way, there is a list of links down below, underneath there. PayPal, Patreon, Teespring, Amazon. I've given you as many ways as I possibly can to support the channel. You can, if it's live and you're watching it, you can do the super chat. I think super chat turns off after this is not live, but it's been a fascinating day. Next week, tomorrow morning, myself and Sinead McCann's video will be out 10:15 or so. It's finished, it's done, it's ready to go. I don't have any more editing doing that. I'll be in Nice. If you're over in Nice looking at, if you see a pile of Ford Focuses pass you by, it's probably me going by rather quickly. So I'll be in Nice until then I'm doing the Range Rover Evoque. The BMW X7 is on next week as well. So good few cars on and a good few videos to come out as well. So make sure you click that subscribe button. When I get to 40,000 subscribers, we'll have a party. I will open a big bottle of something bubbly here live on air, and we'll do it on the Sunday service once we reach the 40,000, which I hope will be next Sunday. So if you're not already subscribed, click the bell icon, click all them things that remind you that it's on, because next Sunday we do it all again. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side.